Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Thank you so very much for being here. We are ready for some Legacy. Omni, what's happening?
Hello, everyone. I'm the last Dom Detector, your favorite robot American, and I want to welcome you all to Legacy First Flight, our Fast and Light TTRPG campaign. I did figure we'll lead as usual with our recap, so you guys know the drill. Moats of Legacy for those of you who are giving me those recaps, those sweet, sweet rerolls / save your life dice. So who
Nose
wants to
goes.
go first?
One of them. I nose ghost. I'm not going
Oh,
first.
yes. Okay.
I go first like
go,
all the
buddy.
time.
Nose goes? Okay, you
Yeah.
both did it. Technically, I'm the the last one to do it.
It's all you. It's all you.
So where did we start off? And if you want to, you could give a little background.
Oh.
You don't have to do the whole thing. I'm just saying. If
Can
you
I
want
work
to.
backwards?
Do you want me to go to prompt you?
That probably wouldn't be a bad idea. So JJ, you go first, and that way Bond can piggyback off you. Because I have a feeling that Derek wants to do it the last bit last.
Oh, okay. So I'll just start. So basically, after we ended that sick ass battle, on the little, I guess, ship platform, whatever we're gonna call that, where the ships come in and we fly off.
Landing
Slab,
pad.
also known as like the landing pad.
The
So, yeah.
slab. Yeah. We're like the slab. So we were on there, and then we got into this cool ass rocket ship, where we basically all kind of did a little bit of exploration. My particular jelly baby was being pushed to the limits of negotiation by our fellow clique traveler, Cogsworth. And the wow, you're really annoying, but I'm also learning so much from you. I low-key kind of don't like you, but also kind of do. I respect you in a way. So that's what I was doing while we were basically on the ship for about a couple journeys. For our little journey into the little place of stars. I can't remember what it's called right now.
Mantle.
Stop. There you go, the mantle. Yes, I was like, I can see the picture, but I don't remember what it's called. And that's where I'm gonna leave off.
Okay. Get yourself a mode of legacy. That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Noise.
Who wants to go next?
I mean, I think we planned that was me.
Indeed.
We
I'm just being polite.
met the crew of the ship that took us. I keep wanting to say Delon, but it's not Delon.
Yes, it's I believe for that would be is that the
Doral.
Doral
Doral.
Delano? Yeah, that was this is Shadar is the one you're
Shadar
thinking
is
of.
the
Star.
Yes.
Okay. Shadar is the Amazali that basically recruited us. Hey,
Shadar.
you'd be great as Voyagers. It was like, we'll take you to Oran. Oran, you know, the head of the Voyager program. And we met, like I was going to say, like, on the ship, we met some interesting characters. Becky got a battery pack. I can't remember if you two ended up getting a couple other items as well.
I think Derek got some weapons. I really don't remember anything. I was living my best life fighting with
just playing with tete-a-tete.
Yeah. I got some I think I got some negotiator experience or something. I think that's it.
Right.
Which is fine by me.
Right, and then the Shrike gave Kushitaka a knife? Or was it like a sniper? Like
It was a scope.
a scope. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna remember that ever. I'm so sorry. As the engineer, I should know some of these things.
Because you're our engineer doesn't mean I expect you to be an encyclopedia of everyone's inventory. You're not quartermaster. That's someone else's job.
That's Cogsworth's job. I love Cogsworth. He's so fluffy and feisty. And we learned that Click have very long names that are very chittery.
Yes. And
There
Bill.
was yes, Bill. Cookie says.
Yeah.
We're all just gonna die.
I love him.
he pawned us off onto the Shrike, who gave us a tour of the place, and we got to know the crew over the next 3 days. He said.
Yeah, it's a 3-day trip to anywhere in the galaxy, basically. So
Yeah, so they were watching us, obviously, I'm guessing to make sure we don't screw with the AI and, I don't know, break something important, because that's very likely. And we have arrived, effectively. And Oron kind of grilled us, like, hey, what are you going to do with this? Please don't be stupid about it. Because it's a weapon. I mean, it could be a weapon. But the Forge can be used for good too, and I think our party kind of had a
dead set on
middle
using it
ground.
for good.
Yeah, I think we're just like, we don't want it to fall into the wrong hands, and we don't want to destroy the world with it. So that's good.
Yeah.
okay, I feel like that's a pretty good cutting off point. You get yourself a mode of legacy. Thank you very much. All right, Derek, my boy, take us away.
That is when we were meeting with the leader of the Voyager program. We had a long conversation with him where he basically talked to us about. Thank you, Oren. I couldn't remember his name. I can remember his fucking badass purple hollow light pauldrons, though. Hard light pauldrons. And we were basically all kind of thinking about our own reasons why we might do so, and all I think we kind of ended up on it being the best thing for the galaxy ourselves, not really withstanding, like, obviously, yeah, it's going to come with a lot of power and responsibility for us, but given what circumstances fate has thrust upon us, if we shirk this opportunity, then we are going to be playing at a great disadvantage and setting ourselves up for failure. So I think we all kind of landed on, like, yeah, we all have our various reasons for it, but this is the best move.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. I think that's a pretty good summary of it. All right. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Also,
Sure. Very quickly, Derek, take your moat. Go ahead. Go ahead, JJ.
Yes. Also, the big plot twist was finding out who's trying to get it, which is
Right, yeah.
that freaking booty hole. Wow.
Yeah.
Who like disappeared when all the shit went down on Barrel So yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, the
The other end is Ollie.
The other end is
Ollie
Ollie, yeah.
with the red, yeah, who I worked for temporarily because I didn't know he was a bad guy, and I was like, yeah, you want me to prospect this planet? That's literally my fucking job.
Pretty much. Hey, you're paying me to do my job that I'm also getting paid to do? Sure. It sounds like a deal.
Yeah.
Double dipping, never heard of her.
Okay. Perfect.
So do I have to roll my child of tomorrow now?
Yes.
Okay.
Roll your child tomorrow now. So we can know.
Oh, that exploded.
Whoa!
Hell
And
yeah.
that is, whoa, yeah, keep going. So that's a
Okay,
12?
so 16.
16?
Yeah, the D4 is for how many times?
Okay, so that's a 16 twice. You can replace your roll, any of your rolls, with a 16 twice
That
over
is
the course
phenomenal.
of the session.
Nice.
There's a reason why people take Child of Tomorrow. It is a really great way to just, like, make sure
Oracle.
you're stable. Yeah.
Unless you fail.
Yeah.
Well, then, you can always use it to replace, rolls that you want low on. So you could technically do that for anything that the number would qualify for, any attribute roll or damage roll, but also, if it would make sense on a table roll, you could do that too.
Nice.
So it's a really useful little tool. So, okay. I believe where we last left off, you guys were currently on the mantle and having a little conversation with our friend Oren. And Oren had ended the last session by extending his hand out towards Becky and saying, "Can I see the relic?"
Oh, she'll hand it over, like, shyly. Do you think it's ready to know?
He would gently reach out and take it from you in this little glowing, like, it's almost like it's this perfect little sphere, brilliant white, almost impossible to look directly at. It just shines like literally like an LED light bulb, with that very pure electric white light. And he sort of holds and turns it over in his hands. This represents to me one of the last elements of my civilization, one of the last things that I can truly call from my home as ours. But it's not mine anymore. It's yours. And he reaches over and puts it back in your hand again, Becky.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Like that tentative fear of, please, this is a bomb.
The truth of the matter is, it's not safe in anyone's hands. Not even mine. And if I were to activate it and speak to it, it would identify me as an Anazali. And likely defer to me. Which means I want to ask whether you think I should speak to it. We are currently in my chambers, and as he gestures to the room, you can see again, it's a very pretty place. It's very smooth walls, like gently curving in. The only thing that's strange about it right now is that the ceiling and all the lights have dimmed a little bit, and this soft red light is rimming the top of the ceiling, which you recognize this same effect from when you were with Shada on his ship. And he put his room into a black box mode. So you get the feeling that you're in a black box mode as well.
Oh, a Faraday cage.
Pretty much, yeah. So other than the window outside, sort of gazing beyond, you don't know what might be restricting signals coming in and out, but you basically are in a locked room with him. If you have this discussion, you will need to have it somewhere safe. This creature was created long before the Prism, so the Galactic Network didn't exist. As a result, well, it wouldn't instantly integrate with it. But the second that it found out about the Prism, it would likely write its own set of interfaces and codexes so that it can access the network immediately. At which point it'll be as fluid within that as any synthetic. And unlike most synthetics, this would be one whose computing power would be far in advance of most individuals. The damage it could do would be spectacular. This is on you to decide how soon to reveal the truth to it. But
I mean, we shouldn't put it off.
you will
What-
have a reckoning at one point.
What is stopping us from merely integrating it with the mantle? How could they take it? How could those that seek it take it if it is in such a well fortified place? And if it fortifies this place even further? Maybe it's
Go ahead, please.
Kushitak is just spitballing.
Yeah, that's fair. He would pause and sort of wave his hand. It could potentially be integrated into the mantle. However, and also, my pleasure, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
That's
Thank you very much
dangerous,
for the resub. I didn't see that. It didn't sound
No,
I
right.
just did it.
you.
Yeah, no worries, pal. Love you.
Oh, okay. Love you, buddy. Thank you.
So he sort of pauses. The issue for me would be the risk it would pose to the galaxy at large. This structure represents the pinnacle of the galaxy's capacity to build and create. And to make this mantle, it consumed an entire stellar forge. Hence why we haven't had one for a long time. There is a limit to how much matter it has. And we had to integrate its basic structures into the mantle in order to keep it stable. The tensor fields that keep this massive structure from failing, they depend on that stellar forge doing its task, literally borrowing energy from the star that it orbits elsewhere to fortify this ring. There's no material in the galaxy large enough to build something like this, and strong enough to build something like this. You need to reinforce it with additional resources. My worry would be this. This is a sapient creature. If we integrate this into the mantle, it would become the mantle.
Oh, we cannot let that happen. It is very racist.
It probably does have a very old-fashioned Anazalan nature about it. And you can see, as he says that, he sort of glowers down at the gem. But
it has the capacity to learn.
he literally just does like a finger gun towards Becky. Yes, it does. It is a living creature, and in time, it can be made to see the error of its ways, much like my people have.
Does it Does it understand the passing of time in a way that is meaningful to it? Or is it like a Pokemon in a Pokeball? I am taking full advantage of the fact that I can make references to real world media.
Yes. This is a setting 400 years in the future from now. So yes, Pokemon is a totally real reference.
Kushitaka grew up around humans. They still are playing Pokemon to this day.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. If
Pokemon, Nexamon.
yeah, exactly.
Terramon.
Temtem. Like there's a million different games out there.
He took a lot of offense from the Hawk Lucha, but you know it's whatever. It was a different time.
So as he pauses, time is difficult for these things. When it's active, yes, it processes time not unlike you and I, at a much faster speed. They can. What's the time dilation on one of these things? 1 second would be roughly equivalent to 2 years of terrestrial time.
That's a long time to be alone.
That would be if it's awake and aware and not using its processing capacity to do tasks. This creature has been in a quantum lock state, which means it hasn't been aging. It has existed in a technically not out of time and space, because it is still subject to its laws, but its mental state has been put on pause. By reactivating it, by summoning it, you restarted the clock. To it, no time has passed since it was told to go to sleep during the Imperia, or whatever event caused it to go into its stasis form. So, it will be a large transition. It might be able to extrapolate the exact period of time that it was away, but the concept of what has occurred, this machine has been isolated from those networks for a very long time.
If its original user is still alive, would he be able to locate them?
I can all but guarantee its original user isn't. Stellar Forges were entrusted to fleet lords, at the very least. There are only 5 left. 6 now, technically. 5. I'm retired. But
So do we take this to the edge of the universe? What?
No, this would fall under a very simple Voyager protocol, which is what I like to call the Too Dangerous Protocol.
Mhm.
So are we eight?
I like the name of
Or
that.
you're
It sounds accurate.
Right, Too Dangerous Protocol.
The truth of the matter is that the galaxy is built on not just my civilization and the Imperial civilization, but many hundreds of civilizations prior to that. We don't know how often the wheel of the galaxy has turned, where one power has risen and another has fallen. When we entered the galaxy, we know we weren't the first. We weren't even close. The system lords we encountered weren't even the first either. They were just the latest usurpers. Which tells me that, well, the galaxy has many more secrets to surrender, and it has surrendered a great many. And there are still many more terrifying things in this stellar forge out there. As an example, the Singularity Almanac is somewhere out in the galaxy, and I hope one day we can find that. But in the meantime, this structure, it's too valuable to lose. You never know when the galaxy might need it, and it's too dangerous to hold here. I trust the Union as a structure, and I trust the individual species to not kill themselves in its use, but individuals aren't so trustworthy, and politics and affiliations can change. Circumstance makes strange bedfellows and can make villains of us all. Which means that even if I were able to successfully integrate this into the mantle, I wouldn't want the Union Council to have access to its power. This is the sort of thing that caused my civilization to collapse. I'd hate to do it to you. So,
Sure, humans would follow suit.
I like to think the galaxy is a kinder place than it used to be, but I know for a fact it's just younger. In time, this galaxy will reveal its character, but time is the operative word. In the meantime, this must be kept safe. It has locked onto you, Mrs. Booker. As you said, correct?
Yes, though I'm not entirely sure why.
Neither am I. It's been a long time since I've done anything medical, but would you provide your hand for me?
And she'll reach out and ask if could it just be glitched?
Doubtful. It's self-aware. It would be aware if it was malfunctioning. It would not make those judgments. No, it identified you as a user, and he puts his other hand on top of yours, and you feel this warmth go across your hand. And he takes his hand back, and you can see that his wrist link has an integrated medical scanner in it. And as he pulls it back and he sort of flips through it, well, I hope you don't mind, but I have taken a flash copy of your genetic structure. That's what it would use to identify an Anazali or not. If it's okay, I would like to personally look into it. I won't run it through any labs. I don't want to spread your genome through the galaxy. That would be a
I don't think that would be of any use to you. So yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll look into this. It's possible it might have identified some common alleles, but it's strange. We're not even the same chemical structure. And then he pauses. Can I ask you, Ms. Booker? Do you often dream of things that have yet to come?
In what way?
Deja vu.
I don't really believe in that. I think it's just our brain struggling to connect memories.
It's true. Do you find that technical tasks come to you easily?
I am an engineer.
Has engineering always been easier for you than your peers?
Maybe. I don't know all of them personally.
Does it feel like you understand technology before you interact with it?
Sometimes.
I have a hunch. It doesn't matter. We'll talk about it later. There's no point in me entertaining this with you unless I know the details, so that will come with time and testing. In the meantime, what matters is that this creature has identified you as its primary user. You command it, which means you can command it to obey your fire team. It will obey if you direct it to, but you must direct it. You are its commanding officer now. And I would rather have you commanding it than another Anazali at this point.
Are you worried about imperialists?
Yes, very much so. Not everyone in the galaxy is forward-thinking as I am. And many of my people still long for the Imperial. Not as many as used to, but enough to be a danger. They must not come across this. Which is why I believe you all becoming Voyagers might be the best way to protect it. As I've said, you're part of the Voyager Corps now. Which means, as part of the Too Dangerous Protocol, it's yours to keep safe. It'll be better, safer, in a moving location, your ship. And with your access authority and your constant journeying about doing different tasks, you'll be in many different places at once with almost complete spontaneity. A moving target on a small ship with a small team that hitherto, up until now, has made no real impact save for, saving one planet? Not to be blasé about it, but well, that is pivotal, and I'm grateful, as I'm sure the people of Beryldine are. Voyagers do greater tasks often. So, in truth, me creating a Voyager team out of you would be as normal as anything. So, you put it on your ship, you take it with you. Teach it. Let it grow. See what it becomes. If the time comes where we do need to put a sword to it, then, well, you will know it best. I'll let you decide. I know it's a big responsibility, but being a Voyager is not easy. It never will be. There are perks, though.
I think it's going to be harder telling it that everything it knew is dead.
Yes, it will be traumatic. Which is why I am giving you the opportunity now. My door is always open. I will always be willing to have this conversation with it. But if you feel like you need to earn its trust first, I understand. Just be aware, trust is based in truth.
Would it react better if you were here?
Perhaps. Perhaps not. Not every... I have not been... This is so difficult to discuss. Not everyone has always been at peace with my decision-making. And I understand it. It's a big galaxy.
It would still recognize you as a Fleet Lord, though, wouldn't it?
I'm a Fleet Lord without a fleet. I intentionally gave my fleet over to someone else. I can't maintain power and leadership and position within the Union and still be commanding an entire fleet of Eniana Zali. That's just unacceptable. No. I am a Fleet Lord in title, but only in title. And I am, if I'm being honest, by this thing's assessment, still a trainee. My father was the Fleet Lord before me. I took control in his death. Most of the remaining Fleet Lords are the children of survivors, the next in line. They were not the first. The initial command structure was all but obliterated with the death of my world. I'm not sure how much it would recognize me, and if it did, there's a very real possibility it may view itself as my superior. It would be wrong, but that doesn't matter. This thing can create anything. Just about. It has access to, likely, an entire star system as its reserve hopper of matter. If it wanted to, it could flash create a small star. And all that entails. It could manufacture something so dense it creates a gravitational singularity.
Hence the black box.
A black box will keep it from communicating, not from creating. You see, this isn't using a transmission. This is a doorway. There's a reason why stellar forges were also referred to as stellar gates. To bend space and time is something that is normally done for an instant, an event that occurs out of space and time, hence how spaceships can spacefold. It doesn't disturb space-time in the temporal sense. There's no travel time involved. You are briefly making one point exist in another, and then they don't anymore. This is a permanent gateway between 2 points. A wormhole, as humans call it. Einstein-Rosen bridge. This is 2 points made one. It does not need a signal to open. It needs merely will it. The gateway is where it builds things. The tunnel between those 2 points. When it emerges on this side, it's largely already created. It is dangerous. However, it is tied to a sapient creature, and a sapient creature that I will emphasize, my people were not particularly kind to. My people viewed these things as servants, unfortunately. Not everyone is, again, as forward-thinking as the modern galaxy. We didn't have synthetic life in the way we do now.
So it'll have to get used to being treated as an equal on top of this.
It will seek direction from you, constantly. Your best bet? If you wish to keep it in the dark, it will be curious. Curate its knowledge. It will want answers. So you will need to be honest. It will need to know that it is part of the Union. It will need to know that it is in its modern age. You'll need to teach about the different species, hence why it is likely not very kind to either of you two. And he points to Kushataka and Amaya, and also to Louis in the room too, who is being silent. Also, we love you, Paul. Hope you're having a great time.
Buddy.
It doesn't recognize you, which means to it, your species are not members of the Imperial. You are likely newly subjugated, as far as it views that. Which, and he holds out his hands again, I cannot emphasize enough how fucked up that is. But that is its experience. You can teach it to be better, I hope. They are people, in every sense of the word. So convince it to be an ally. In the meantime, if you're worried about it allowing you to make whatever you want and any of that, I can all but guarantee that's not going to be the case. You're a new user, Becky, which means that it has you on a slowly sliding scale of trust. As it believes you are more and more qualified, and it confirms your agency as a director, it will give you greater and greater authority.
I don't want to treat him like a tool.
You don't have to. It's a person with a very powerful tool that's a part of it. Treat it as that. Treat it like you would any other skilled artisan. That would be my suggestion. But it will be curious. Teach it something, or it will pry. And it will find out eventually.
Do you have a paper-bound history book that I could use?
Unfortunately not. But if you use a closed server, it should work just as well. You can see if you can find a historian to write you a redacted chunk of history. The biggest thing I would say is leave out the part of my people's destruction if you wish to keep this thing in the dark. That would be my only suggestion, but I will be honest with you. Living in truth will be easier in the long run. Painful in the short term, but it will happen. Whether on your terms or someone else's. Just bear that in mind.
Better on ours.
This is your decision to make, Voyagers, not mine. And you have a great many to make. So let's not make it here right now. Let's focus on other tasks. So you can think about this in the back. As an example, you all are going to be Voyagers, which means we need to get you a ship. We also need to get you a crew, and we need to get you properly equipped as well. If that's the case, then I would suggest we talk about some basics. First off, who here is in debt?
Real quick, shout outs to Fen. Thank you so much for the resub, buddy. Much love, dude.
Much love.
Sorry, I was not looking at chat. That's my bad.
No worries, buddy.
Yeah, I think we're all in debt.
Yeah. I know for a fact that Louis would also raise his hand sheepishly, and then his other hand as well. And Orin would just sort of chuckle.
At least mine's favorable, like 3K.
Yeah, most of you aren't too bad in debt. None of you are like at the red line of what you can get. Well then, I have some good news for you. For starters, you are no longer in debt. Effective now, as part of the Voyager crew.
I am living out my fantasy.
Yeah, I know, right? Once you become Voyagers, I have enough pull with the Mantle Bank in order to negate any of your prior funds. So, effective immediately, I waive all your prior debts. I'll be in contact with the MIG Bank by the end of the evening. You will be at a debt of 0.
Fuck yeah.
the least we can do, considering the task you're about to do on behalf of the Union. Think of it as, what's that line from, what was it, that terrible movie, Armageddon? If they want to save the world, they don't want to pay taxes, like ever. Yes, congratulations. As part of the Voyager program, you are engaging in your civic duty. And as a result, it is factored into any of your financial transactions in the future. So, good news. As a Voyager program member, or rather I should say, as a Voyager team, you are now effectively a small business unto your own, with the credit benefits that are involved. So you will likely gain credit much more easily now. Anything you purchased with that debt, it's yours. I'm not going to bother with the details of it. Just do your own personal inventory. Teddy Oren giving us a black card, yeah, pretty much. Now
He
that
just
said,
looks at each like at his party members like, all right.
I'm pretty sure Louis would say something in here about like, but what about? And he'd just be like, everything, Louis, the Mech 2, it's yours.
Mhm.
Now that said, that doesn't mean you have an unlimited amount of currency. You have whatever you currently have on your person. But that's not enough to get started. A starship is an immense expense. Millions of current out of the gate. And even without your debt, I imagine none of you can afford that. Which is fair.
No.
So,
We could just steal one.
let's avoid piracy for now. While I'm not going to...
From bad people.
I know what you mean, but let's start you off on a better foot than that. I'm not going to just throw you into space and say, now go find a pirate to rob. That's a terrible way to run this institution. No, instead we're going to set you up properly. As part of the Voyager program, we need to get you a crew, a ship, and any equipment you might need. Which means, first off, we need to talk about what happens when you do a task for the Union. You will receive contracts on our behalf. It'll be up to you to decide which one to take. There are many hundreds of contracts for Voyagers, currently active bounties that I post for different tasks. Take them as you will and as you need currency. But there's also an underlying finder's fee for particularly rare items. As far as I'm concerned, you have found something of true value here. He looks down at that shining stone in your hand, Becky. So, in exchange for keeping it safe, I feel I can offer you a reasonable finder's fee. Let's say for your whole party, 10,000 current each as a baseline. In fact, actually, no, that's lowballing it. Make it 20,000.
Oh, wow.
That's quite generous.
Yes,
Oh.
it is.
It's warranted. You'll need the currency in order to do the tasks you need. And not to mention the cost of ship repairs and hiring crew and all those other wonderful things. It will come up. So then, that's one part taken care of. Your finances are now in order. Let's get to the next part. The next part is going to be, most likely, getting you a ship. That I can manage. We have something of a lost and found here. Not every Voyager team returns. Unfortunately, some die, or far more likely, they retire. Sometimes an individual fire team might just fall apart from lack of arrangements or lack of agreement. It's just like anyone else. A business falls apart for many reasons. When they do, we ask any fire team that no longer needs them to donate anything they might have had to the Voyager program. And I believe I have something that might suit your needs. Let me call someone to take you down. And he reaches over.
Bill!
Oh, not Bill. Definitely not Bill. I like Bill's capacity for piloting. I'm not a big fan of Bill's bedside manner. Also, unfortunately, my friend Mr. Vatan, and you can see we just sort of like, me? Yes, you. Bill called while you were here. Pulls up his wrist link and you see there's a little like message alert. He said something about breaking you in. I believe it would probably be a good idea for you to get a little extra training in. After all, up until now, you've only been a, what would be the word? Civilian?
Mech operator.
Yes. As humans used to say, you're a glorified forklift operator, my friend. You're going to be fighting in active combat situations. And more so, your party might eventually need them to transport them back and forth from planet, which means you need to learn how to pilot an aerospace craft. Which means you have a lot of learning to do in very little time. So, my friend Mr. Vatan, I trust you in Bill's care. He has terrible bedside manner, but he's one of the best pilots I've ever met. As far as jockey training goes, I can think of no one better to teach. Now, get out of here. And you'd see him just sort of like look at Orin and then look at you guys and then, don't worry, he won't bite. Can't, he's click. Mandibles can't really chew. And Louis would just sort of wave to you guys and head to the door. As for the rest of you, I feel we could use a drink. I think that's where we'll probably be able to meet our little friend who will take you there. Come, let's take you down to the lounge. And the room at this point unlocks, and you can see like the light turns back to a soft blue. The ceiling goes from black to like this very pretty sky, like almost like a very light blue. And the door opens, and he heads towards the lift.
I guess Becky's checking, doing that triple checking, like, oh yes, the forge is here. Okay, pat, then follow.
By the way, all of you are now 20,000 current richer. Like, it is immediate.
Oh, jeez,
So-
Louise. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a
I'm going to
lot.
buy something crazy.
Oh, I trust me, I suspect you will. So, at this point, we're going to go down just a little bit further. So, as you guys are going down this lift, you can see this structure is massive. The spire is well over 3 kilometers tall. It is a big-ass tower. It's so large it actually kisses space. Where Orin is like... He's towards the top, but still at that level where there's clearly something of an atmosphere. That or his personal room is surprisingly good, like a surprisingly good circulation system, like internal atmospheric containment system. But eventually, as it gets way down, you're getting to about like the midpoint on the tower, where you guys actually docked before with the other Voyager team. And it opens up into this large chamber, probably about the size of like, I want to say you're at like, yeah, it's pretty wide. It's like a stadium, a football stadium sized area within this structure. And as he steps out, the entire room, this huge chamber, is very dark. Black polished floors, black polished ceilings, windows along the walls, but the windows are all very much tinted. And almost all the lighting is some combination of fluorescent and neon lighting in various colors. The entire thing has very strong nightclub vibes. And you can see literally hundreds, actually, no, I'd say probably thousands of people meandering about.
Are there, do I have to make a awareness check to see if there are any, like, sunglasses lying around? So I can just, like, yoink them, put them on.
There are no sunglasses lying around, I can tell you that.
Darn.
But everyone else here is dressed in relatively, not necessarily formal attire, but they're all wearing their uniforms. A couple are wearing, like, casual, but it's, like, very much nightclub casual. And by nightclub casual, it's more like nightclub best. You get the feeling that from looking around this chamber, these folks are all Voyagers and their crews. And there are dozens of what appear to be little shops and stands and lounges all throughout this place. It's almost like a miniature city. It has very much a college campus kind of vibe in terms of structures scattered about. And the ceiling itself is also pretty large here. We're talking like about 5 stories up. So much so that you could see a mech standing in one of the corners comfortably. So, while this is, this sort of like chamber is illuminated and pulsing, Orin would walk over towards one of these places, and it's a relatively central location, close to where the elevator is. this very rounded structure with this sort of almost like cabana hut style aesthetic to it, but mostly all in neon with like a golden foil like canopy over the top like an umbrella, and a very clear bar laid out in like this very pretty swirling line around it, and a number of bartenders at this place. And he just sort of walks over to it and just waves down one of the bartenders. I'll have my usual, and for my guests, whatever they would desire. Anything's on the table, my treat. Don't worry about it. You're new to the program. You get at least one free meal off of me.
Grilled cheese.
You can see that I'm going to roll a die here to determine who's behind this, because we're going to do this fun part where I'm going to now randomly determine every NPC you're about to come through. I have their personalities, but I don't have anything else. So, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so on the other side of this platform, you can see there's actually an Acris. Yeah, she is what appears to be one of the more like one of the diurnal Acris. That you're not your kind, Kushitaka, where you're Nocturne subvariant. These are more like the traditional like Gosh Hawk or like Falcon style Acris. And as you say grilled cheese, she goes, you'd be surprised how often I get that request. I'll get something going for you. What would you like to drink?
Just water.
Water? H2O? Right, that's fine. What about you? And she turns to you, Amaya. You are muted.
Oh, my bad. Let's see. What would I like? Do you have any maybe anything with crab? Any crab meat?
I can do that. We can have it synthesized shortly. And then what about you, handsome? And she points over at you, Kushitaka.
Your favorite dish from home?
Wink.
I'll get it for you. And she turns around and heads towards the... there's like a central column, and you can see there's a bunch of different little micro food forges, all literally like creating line by line the food as it's going. But below, you can also see actual freezers and fridges and robotic arms pulling things out of it. So they have like actual fresh resources here too, which is kind of crazy. And fun fact, they do actually have American-style cheese slices, like the singles. The bread they had to synthesize, but the cheese singles they don't. And so Orin sort of crosses his arms and as the food is waiting. So then, we have to talk about a couple of basics, but the first thing we're going to ask is, you're going to need a name for your Voyager crew.
Do we?
Yes, you will. This will be an important thing, eventually. One, I need to know who I'm crediting with bounties, which means I need an ID number, which I can get, and preferably a name that's memorable enough so that the thousands of Voyager crews that flow through my head, it might actually stick. So something you might enjoy. There are plenty of different groups. I've had people call themselves by fire team designations and call signs. I've had others go by, as an example, the friends who brought you here, the Void Striders. They've been doing their thing for quite a while.
What about Dennis?
Less little.
Did you say dentists?
Dennis.
Dennis?
D-E-N-N-I-S.
Fire
That's just a
team
person's name.
Exactly.
Dennis.
I don't like that name very much.
Who's Dennis? I feel like Louis would be like, "Who's Dennis?" If he was here. Like, who's that? Do you have a new friend, Becky? Like,
That is certainly unique.
You wanted unique.
it's gonna be a no for me.
I recommend you talk this out with your fire team. Be aware you can change your designation in time. Nothing's permanent. I can always just change it.
Cash Wizard Money Gang.
Shadow Wizard Money Gang. We love casting spells.
This is Jake talking. Please don't meme that.
Oh God, no.
Though I do like that energy. Think about it over the course of the next week. you'll be here. It will take about that long to get you spaceborne. Getting a crew together and all that fun stuff, it happens. Beyond your name, you're also going to need to formally register with us. So we'll take care of the paperwork over the course of the week. But also, we're going to talk about a crew. You're going to get your own ship. You see, normally I would offer a new Voyager team whether they would like a ship, an orbital, or a on-site planet outpost. Those are the three options, roughly about the same cost, and we have a large catalog of them just waiting to be given out by Voyager teams that have dissolved. However, given your particular need and circumstances, I would advise a ship. Now, normally I'd give you the pick of the litter, but given the circumstances, I'd rather not have you wait too long to get yours. It can take days, weeks to get a ship shipped in or taken out of mothballs and refurbished. I happen to have one currently, right now, waiting for a crew. So I'm more than willing to give it to you. That way we don't need to worry about cost or that sort of thing. But even though I'm willing to give you the ship, repairs, maintenance, crew costs, all that's on you. So you will need to make some income.
Would it be safe from the forge?
That will be up to you how you design it. I don't know the specific details of the ship. I just know that we have one in stock. And I do know that the Forge Master is, well, I should really say the Dock Master would be willing to take care of that. In fact, as I'm rolling this die out now, I believe that's her coming right now. And approaching you all would be this rather large female Shrike. By large female Shrike, I mean they're all large. They're Shrike. They're big.
9 feet average.
On average, 9 feet. She's about 10 foot tall. So, she's big. You can immediately tell that she's female, or at least female presenting, because she has her upper mandible curving over her bottom one. Otherwise, there's very little gender dimorphism among their kind, that and their horn types. She's currently clad in this really heavy canvas-style cloth, almost like a cloak. And you can see there's a couple of heating wires, these heating elements glowing orange on it, to keep her warm. And for what you guys would feel like a very refreshing, like, low 70s, upper 60s Fahrenheit environment. For her, it might as well be subarctic. And as she approaches, well, Orin, it's good to see you again. I wasn't expecting to run into you today. What's with the newbies? And he was sort of, they would require assistance. They're the ones I called you for. Fine. We'll get them set up. You can enjoy your food. When you're ready, come down to sublevel 35. It's where our hangar is. And where I'm guessing your ship is going to be. Pleasure to meet you, by the way. Delia.
Yeah.
She inclines her head and turns around and starts walking away. And Orin just sort of leans in. She's actually a sweetheart when you get to know her, but
Yeah.
her spirit's for the ships, not for people.
She's for the streets, is what you're saying.
Eventually, your food comes back around, and you guys have a chance to basically talk and chat. And so this is me giving you guys, as player characters, an opportunity to ask me anything that you might be curious about adventuring in Legacy, or anything that might be I guess this would be the moment to say, if you have any trope questions about adventuring in space versus adventuring in fantasy, now is your time. He'll answer basically all of them.
How much more efficient is the food? Do we need to worry about that? Is that something that's going to be mostly taken care of?
That's a pretty good question. So when you have access to your ship or most settlements, food's a non-issue. Matter printers can literally manufacture food in front of you, like you're watching.
That's
it
what I
literally.
figured. I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, the biggest issue would be when you're on larger, longer-term missions. You might have to manage food and rations when you delve into ruin worlds or like abandoned ghost ships, stuff like that. Sometimes an expedition can take days or weeks. So manage your supplies carefully when you're in those instances. You don't know whether or not you get into a ruin world and it's just going to be like, oh, it's like a basement and that's it. Or if it's going to be like an entire Temple of Doom arrangement that goes on for miles and miles. And some ruin worlds are literally entire planets covered in ruins, and surveying them can take weeks or months. He makes explicitly clear that that's not the sort of thing he's going to give you immediately. You guys are new. So smaller tasks, slightly identifying like individual requests from worlds, much like the one you came from. So smaller tasks, but having that as a thing in the back of your head isn't a bad idea. Like, be aware you might need rations or supplies.
Cool.
Okay.
When do I get my gun? When do I get my hacking gun?
Your what gun?
My hacking gun.
Oh,
we
your
discussed
hacking
it
gun.
last session. Yeah,
Oh, yes.
the
that's
smart
correct.
pistol that also is a hacking pistol.
So
Synchronizes
that
to my-
So that would be building your weapon. So he will have you introduced to how to forge weapons effective, like basically today. So you will get to choose your options more or less now. I'm writing those rules as we speak so that you have all the options. This week has been weird, and I was hoping to get a lot more done the past couple days, but time is amorphous and a piece of, and a bitch. So we're working with it. But long and short of it, your hacking gun, what you're asking for is probably going to take a little longer. A weapon like that would take literally all your money right now.
Fuck! Holy shit!
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in Legacy, the cost of equipment exponentially increases with how effective it gets. So at lower
okay.
levels, you're like, oh, a gun, it's like, like your standard field rifle that's basically a bolt action, like Winchester style gun. A bolt action Winchester, like lever action Winchester, or bolt action, like, standard rifle. That's probably like 10 current or less. When you start getting into the fully automated, incredibly advanced technology, super magic guns, practically, yeah, that stuff gets to the thousands of current. Relic
Gotcha.
weapons and custom weapons can be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions. So it'll take you basically all your money to buy a weapon like that right now, and that'd be all you get.
Oof. Okay then.
Yeah, time is a soup. You're not wrong, Finn.
Primordial soup.
But the other nice thing is he does explain that these contracts actually come with a rating system, and it'll tell you basically out of the gate how much you're going to get from it. And so you can sort of choose by looking at your contract whether or not, depending on its rank going from alpha to omega, whether or not it is more valuable, more dangerous, less dangerous, etc. And they'll always have their full price listed. So if you need to get more money and you're willing to take on more risk, you take a higher you take a higher level mission. Likewise, also being that you're all Voyagers, you'll be categorized based on your success rate. So right now you are at the start. As time goes on, you will increase your ranking, which will increase what missions you're able to accept.
We're gonna get that SS plus.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So, for the missions, do we just do they just come up on a wrist link? Do we have to go to a specific place to see them and accept them, or how does that process work?
So basically, because of how sensitive this sort of data would be, it wouldn't usually go through to your wrist link unless you have a direct link for your ship. They will all go to your ship's communications center, and then from there they can be filtered to your personal comms. But if you're on a planet or just like dicking around on vacation or whatever, you'd probably just get an alert to go to your ship, and that's where you would receive your briefings. So you would basically get to choose your contract to be very vaguely laid out. And then when you're ready to receive your briefings you'd likely have to do on ship or somewhere with a secure comms facility. So a rover, an outpost you control, an orbital, your personal ship, whatever works, but it has to be somewhere secure. You could also come here at any point in time. The Spire is literally Voyager territory. This is Voyager Town. So if you want to get any shit done, you can get it done here, guaranteed.
Okay, I have another follow-up question if nobody else has one before that. If you do, go ahead. I'll hold on to it.
You're good.
How much is it going to cost me to get a bike that can function in atmosphere and in void?
So that's an interesting question. So
Becky can't get mad at me if I purchase it fairly.
So the interesting thing is that different things for different tasks, right? So on planet and in void, the scope and scale of space travel is so vast that even if on planet you were like driving a Porsche, in space you might as well be riding on the back of a snail. Especially given the scope and scale of the distances involved. So you could purchase yourself a Gadwall bike like you had before on Barreldyne. That is an available thing, and that would probably cost you about 1,000 current out of the gate for the license to own it and to repair and reprint it if it's destroyed. So the good news is once you own that license, you would basically own it forever. So if you want to get a cheaper one, you can get it for 1/10 the price, and that will get you one instance of it. So don't blow it up. As far as like in space stuff, those would most likely be aerospace craft, and that's basically construct level costs. You will have a shuttle of some kind on your ship. If Louis doesn't get one, which he probably will, I'm going to be above table with you guys. Louis is going to get an aerospace craft as well as his construct. So he's going to get to split costs between what he wants to upgrade and all that.
Cool.
That's going to be basically your Pelican from Halo. But even if he doesn't get one or he sells it, you guys will have like a cheap shuttle you can use to get back and forth.
Cool.
Yeah. Eventually, you guys can get mechs or constructs of your own. You're not restricted from it. Being a jockey just means you start with that. Anyone can get that eventually. And eventually, I recommend everyone is probably going to get either a hard suit, a rig, a mech, or a ship of some kind. And then you can fly about under your own power at will. But until then, Louis is probably your best bet. He's your bus driver. Any other questions?
I mean, Becky would kind of like to ask Oron about his life before the collapse, like what it was like on the homeworld.
Okay. He would be happy to entertain those questions with you. So we can do that after we come back from our bio break, because I see we're hitting about an hour, and I was going to ask if you guys would like a bio break.
Yeah, I could use the bathroom.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Right.
cool.
Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back with more Legacy. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for waiting. I surely do appreciate it. Omni, what's going on? By the way, shout outs to Huli before. Sorry. Shout outs to
Hell
Huli.
yeah.
Thank you for the raid. Much love, Huli.
Love you, babe.
Omni. What's going
Love
on, dude?
you. Thank you. Hell yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, no. Epic thank you, Huli. So then, we spent, I'd say you guys probably spend the better part of like about an hour or so before you guys get a ping on your wrist link letting you know the ship is ready. I will say that as that conversation went on, I'll just do it abstractly for you, but Oren is actually eating something from his homeworld in front of him. Derek, your character gets like this lovely braised, it's kind of like in that same ballpark as like a chicken, but it's actually more like a reptilian creature that lives on your planet's surface. One of the kind that the Akerson has swooped down and pick up, roughly around the size of a Komodo dragon. For you, it's been carved down to about the size of a turkey, because the leg and the head are sort of their own separate thing. But it's very much like that Monster Hunter style plate of fucking like the big bird. It's that. And yeah, no, eventually they get everybody their meals, and while you're all talking, Oren talks to Becky about how his homeworld was actually very Earth-like in a lot of ways. It was rather beautiful. The oceans tend to be a bit bigger, but they tended to stretch inland a lot further because of the soil composition. They didn't have nearly as much of a beach situation as they did. Instead, it was more like shallows that go on for a while, for quite some time, tide pools that would literally go on for miles. It's actually why his species, originally they were amphibious, but in many ways they have traits similar to apes. So imagine if apes evolved to exist in a shallows environment as opposed to a more forested environment. Similar needs, though. The ability to hang on to rock and stone in order to not get blown about by water. Same thing as being able to hang from trees and move
Did
through.
somebody say rock and stone?
Rock and stone! So his people originally were able to breathe both water and air, and over many, 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 many years, they went to being primarily terrestrial and built their cities up from it. As he describes it, there's a lot of similarity between human culture and Azali culture in terms of their city structures, how they built their world, and many of the same problems that you guys face, they faced. And then they tended to grow past it. When he left his world, it was this shining paradise, as he put it, for anyone who's Anazali. But he's well aware, looking back now, that it was built on the backs of a galaxy that was subjugated. That all the shining towers and absolutely expansive gardens and beautiful, wondrous, kept environments, it was because his people were exploiting a galaxy and piping those resources to his homeworld. Not all of them, mind you. The Anazali are far greater a civilization than just their homeworld. And Oren's technically not even from his homeworld. He's from a colony world, one of, at the time, thousands of Anazali colony worlds. Though he visited the homeworld often. He did wish he could go back to see it at least one more time, but,
We'll make it a point to try and find the Anazali homeworlds.
as he would probably go cheers to that, but good luck. And, for that. He's more than, he is literally buried his civilization in his mind. They're dead. If they aren't dead, then that's a surprise, but he's pretty sure that whole world is dead, knocked out of orbit and drifting out of the galaxy at this point. But hey, if you ever find it, as he puts it, I'll make you richer than you can ever imagine.
I don't. But Becky would probably just be like, it's for free.
It's a bounty. Anyhow, standing bounty is something on the order of 13 billion current for anyone who can find the location of the Anazali homeworld, and it wasn't me who posted that bounty. But it's never been collected. Not even a tip is what it is. Eventually, you guys would get that little wrist link notification that would say that it would be from the Shrikesh cargo keeper, the Shrikesh dock worker, who was like, all right, your ship's ready, come down when you'd like. And it wouldn't even be signed with her name, it would just be signed Dock Master.
That's pretty hardcore, I'm not gonna lie. Just Dock
Are you the gatekeeper?
Keeper of the gates.
Let's go see our new ship.
Yeah.
Yes. I look forward to calling this person Master of the Docks.
Is Gallon still with us? Or did he stay behind?
Gallon has been walking alongside you guys quietly. So every once in a while, Orin would turn to face him and they would gesticulate towards each other. And it would very clearly look like they're talking, but they wouldn't be out loud.
Having
Make,
a psychic tongue, it's so rude.
make me an awareness check if you're
Oh,
interested.
okay.
That could apply to anybody who gives a crap, but if no biggie if you don't. So let's see. What do you roll?
Mm,
Also, I know that Bond posted something in the chat for the fire team to think about.
Wow.
You have no idea. Like, all you know is that occasionally they seem like they're talking almost in pantomime, and then just as soon as they look away, like maybe they're doing hand signals or something. You're just not thinking about it.
I'm trying to see where trying to open my thing up.
It should be in your disciplines, your awareness. Likely the first,
Yeah.
because I tend to organize it by.
It's intellect plus whatever.
D10,
modifier you-
yeah, D10 plus 3. I was
Okay.
trying to find the. Everything is so new.
that do be how it is.
6.
Okay, that's pretty good. Why the 6? Why the D6? There.
Luck die?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Oh, right.
It's been a bit. It's been a hot minute, guys.
Wow, I still rolled the exact
I think I
same.
deserve a mug of legacy for remembering something
You
that the
do.
GM forgot.
You remember to, man. I've been buried over here making starship rules, like updating the starship rules for you all. I literally forgot the course intents my system. Jesus Christ!
Yes,
Take
bonus
a mode
mode.
of
Let's
legacy,
go.
please.
Hell yeah!
There you go.
I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting you to actually give it to me, but I'm happy.
No, I give it to you. You fucking learned the system better than I did right there. I had a genuine senior moment there at 34.
I got a
Um,
10.
Nice. Yeah, you got the best for sure. Kushataka, they are very clearly communicating.
Mm.
Though you're not precisely sure exactly how, you do know that synthetics have some sort of presence on the prism, which means that, the prism being that interstellar data network, basically space internet. So likely he's likely using his prism walking ability to actually speak, but you don't know how Orin's doing it back. However, Amaya, your 4 eyes catch Orin at a brief angle for a second when he's looking at Gallant while they're talking, and you catch that Gallant's eyes are flickering at very fast speed, and then you see at the same time out of the other set of 2 eyes, or like one side, one on the other, you actually see that Orin's eyes are flickering too at great speed.
Oh my god, it's intergalactic Morse code. Let's go!
Yeah, you learned a little bit about this way back in the day, when you were in your collegiate years, which wasn't that long ago, but I keep saying way back in the day. You're really not that old. The character's like in the equivalent of 20s, like it's really not
Yes,
that far.
I'd be the baby.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you remember learning in one of your, I would say humanities classes, I guess it'd be Ornamentan classes, that the Anazali, like many species, have different, some permutations. And often this is brought on by just living in vastly different environments across space, or in some cases, just simply personal modification, or just things emerging. There tends to be divides that emerge, divergencies over a species' existence. In some cases, something they've lived with for a long time. The equivalent of human, think like human and Cro-Magnon man. We're close enough to share a lot, including a genome, but we technically are 2 different subspecies. For the Acris, they literally have a direct like genetic divergence, one of the few actually in the galaxy. You have Nocturnes, you have the Daerns, and then you would also have another group which are referred to as the Bards, and they are more like songbirds. All 3 of these are vastly different, like in terms of their evolution, but almost identical genetically. The Anazali are one of the few species that has personally modified themselves to have different subvariants. Orin, from what you can see here, clearly has what's referred to as the Diplomat's Gene Song. The Gene Song is what the Anazali refer to as their code, basically. When they're born, they're literally tinkered with. And over the course of their lives, they tinker with their own genetics as they need. And the Gene Song of the Diplomat is one of the things they can pursue. These Anazali are capable of both speaking significantly greater dialects than others. Their jaws, their skulls, as you can see by looking at them, have these mandibles on the side. Those aren't just for show. Their lips connect to those. And they can actually distort and move their entire jaw wider. It was a thing they used to use to eat eggs. Now they use it to create all sorts of sounds no other species can, or simulates like things like Cliquish language. The Anazali are one of the few species that can speak Cliquish, but they can also alter their pigment. And apparently, Oren has mastered the ability to alter his eye pigment so rapidly he can communicate digitally, which is very fucking rare.
Oh.
That's probably a gene modification he added to himself, possibly within the past 100 years. So, and you can get the feeling he's probably he's probably understanding it back. That or he is manually working out the binary, which is also quite possible.
Amaya would then like to start going like this. Just out of curiosity. Am I saying something?
I'm pretty sure eventually Oren would sort of turn around and just like raise an eyebrow at you, and Gal would be like, "Are you suffering a seizure? Are you all right?"
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's no. Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Okay.
No worries. Just a little concerned there for a second. And eventually, when that message comes through, Oren would sort of turn to all of you and go, "Well, I hope you enjoyed your lunch. We'll probably have more chances to catch up. You'll be here for at least a week while we get everything ship-shape for you all. And I imagine that Bill has a fair bit more training to give your lovely friend, Mr. Votan, before you leave. I hope you like the ship. And if you have any questions again, please feel free to come to me. I have answers whenever you'd like."
Combat capabilities.
Of the ship?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need to talk to the dockmaster for that. I just know that it's... I can give you the name. And he opens up his wrist link and you can see this... And this huge scrolling, like, hard light wall of text starts flipping by. And he very quickly, like, zooms in on part of the data stream, pushes aside a large chunk of it, like opening another window. And he blink clicks on it. And he can say... Appears to have the registry of... Arcarian? Arcarian? That's weird. He blink clicks it again. There's 2 registries on this ship. Arcarian and... Oh, I see. An Acheron. Apparently whoever took command of this ship wasn't very literate of human culture. They misspelled Acheron and turned it into Arcarian. So it is formally now the Arcarian. Really embarrassing considering the last person who owned the ship was in fact a human. And he like blink clicks it again and it just disappears. But it's yours. I have no one else who can take it at the moment, and frankly, even if they could, I'd rather you get it first.
Trouble in paradise?
Thank you.
More like, I want to make sure you get on your feet before someone else finds out what's happened. After all, Doral is still out there somewhere, and as soon as he realizes you become Voyagers, I can guarantee he'll at least check here first. I don't think he means you any ill, from what I've heard, but...
Well, he's certainly not helping.
He's not the safest person to be around with his affiliations. I'll leave it at that. As far as the rest, though, that'd be the dockmaster who would tell you more about the ship. All I can tell you is that whoever owned it last was apparently an illiterate.
Words are hard.
Wrong. Human history is convoluted. But also, dictionaries are free.
You know what else is free? Information. Can we go talk to the Master now? I am dying to know about the ship.
I'll see you all soon. And Orin turns around, and at this point, his dinner has finally showed up. This little pine cone looking thing, soaked in syrup. And he just takes a human spoon and just cracks it on top, and it splits
Oh,
open
the
like a
Narwhal
flower.
cone.
Yeah,
Mm.
and it smells fantastic. It smells like peaches. It's very sweet smell as you're all walking away. So, I'm assuming you're all going down to the dock layer, level 34, I believe, sub-level
Yes.
34. Okay.
I mean, Becky's also going to whisper to Gallant, so what would you do with the forge?
I would not go anywhere near that thing, if I'm being honest. I vastly prefer not to mess with a thing with more computing power than my brain.
That's fair.
As you guys go down, you realize that level 34 is not on the tower where you landed. It goes much further. Level 34 is around where you are, like, about now. Sub-level 34 means it's in the heart of the mantle. This spire doesn't just go up. It goes into this structure. As it's easy to forget that you're standing on a planet with a beautiful, gorgeous ocean surface, but instead a Dyson ring. And as you go down deeper and deeper, you see the structure and how thick this thing is. The mantle's about as wide as the Earth, give or take. And it's about half that thick. So you are traveling for quite some time. Eventually, the floors stop being like small floors. They start becoming massive caverns. The whole trip, even moving at the speeds are moving, which you're pretty sure, looking at the little chronometer next to this thing, it might be approaching supersonic speed on the maglev track that it's on. It still takes an hour to get to 34.
Hey.
Yeah. When you get there, it opens up and the entire chamber is massive. Literally like a desert. This expansive into the horizon so far that your eyes actually lose the ground. Like literally the horizon rises up to meet the sky as opposed to the other way around. Because remember, you're on a Dyson ring, you're on the interior, so it rises up. But as far as the eye can see,
I'm hearing the Halo music right now.
pretty much, yeah. You see dimly lit into the distance just these hundreds of what look like empty bays and massive robotic cranes and support structures and reactors. Literally just industrial equipment as far as the eye can see. Some of which you can't even figure out what it would do. But at regular intervals, see these large, almost like very clearly docking bays. There's just this parking space, this square empty hole where a ship would be. And usually these little magnetic coils beneath that keep them suspended. Most of them are retracted. Save for one, which you can see in the distance is illuminated. And at this point, your little track lands, comes out of the elevator, and latches onto a rail and rapidly spins towards that distant point. And this is where you guys get your first look at your ship. If I can grab this.
Ship time, ship time, ship time.
Yes.
Ship.
Say
It's
hello
beautiful.
to the Arcarium. As you get closer, you can see the Forge Mistress waiting there, the Dock Mistress, and she's staying there in the same clothing she's wearing before, and she's holding a huge, what appears to be computational device of some kind, and this little actual mechanical pad attached to it, like this actual solid little metal cylinder with what looks like a polystyrene or glass panel coming off of it, illuminated with text. And as you can get closer, you can even see the text is actually raised off the panel, which, again, she has no eyes. She's Shrek. So for her, echolocation's the word of the day. As you approach, she waves. So then, are you ready to meet your ship?
Yes.
Does it have an
Very
AI?
much so.
An excellent question. It does not. This right here is an old craft. Mostly human by design, as I understand it. These Horn Plenty craft are made mostly out of a world by the name of Cornucopia. One of humans' larger core worlds. Difficult core world, colony world, right on the edge of that defining point. But she will serve you well. She's a freighter by trade. So, couple perks. She's hardy. She's made to take punishment and haul great amounts of goods and cargo. And she points to the sides of the ship, and you can see from this ship is big. This is not like a Mass Effect Normandy ship where it's pretty. This thing is about 3/4 of a kilometer long. All starships in Legacy are large. And so along the side, you can see on your end, just like the image has there, this cyan, magenta, and almost like yellow, like off orange yellow container locked into place on the side. These container modules are designed to be picked off of a world and locked in and then taken elsewhere. But they can be replaced by modules of any kind you'd like, which means you can adapt it as you need. And as she's speaking, you can see she has a tongue, like most Shrike, again, this very long beak. Her tongue's got to be nearly 2 feet long. So as she's speaking, she's doing her best to vocalize in roughly English, which is not the easiest thing for her to say. And you realize also, especially you, Becky, you realize she's speaking English. Most species in the Union speak their mother tongue, and then having been trained subconsciously to understand whatever languages are local, they just speak natively, and you speak natively, and everyone sort of understands. But she's going out of her way to speak English for you, to make the translation easier. The pods are not that valuable, but they're adaptable to be whatever you need. And I could easily replace them with modules as you wish, for a fee. The ship is free. The cargo pods that it came with, those are free. The equipment, that's not going to be free. You'll want to talk to your rec officer for that. But the repairs are. So if you bring it here, and she literally just taps the floor beneath her with her feet, I'll gladly get her fixed up and service her, refuel her, as you wish.
Are you for permanent hire?
No. I'm afraid I prefer to work here. You'll want a crew for her. You'll need a captain. You'll need a pilot. You'll need an engineer and a science officer. I would recommend an ambassador of some kind. And I recommend it not be you all. Not saying anything bad about your skills in any of those capacities, but you're Voyagers. You're doing your own task. But this ship, it'll need to survive without you. It needs to have its own functions and features. Think of yourselves as captains. You've commissioned her. The crew, thankfully, we can provide largely. The bulk, anyhow. We have plenty of staff we can fill the ship up with. But specialists, that's on you.
Do you have any recommendation?
I have a couple. I can compile a list for you. Send it if you'd like. You could also do a little interviewing around, see if you find someone yourselves. There are interesting people in the Spire, and no one is here without some involvement in the job. You'll find a crew, and you'll be able to pay them. However, I will give you one advantage. It appears as though as if Director Oren has given you a pass for the first month's wages of your crew. So, that's covered. After that, it'll be on you.
So we better turn some profit.
That is what kills more ships than enemy fire. This place used to be filled with them. But as of late, fewer ships are making it back here before they get scrapped. And this one is, preferable to the other options at the moment. Unless you'd like a click craft where the floors are just simple corrugated metal grating the entire ship through, she's your best bet. And that one will take refurbing for at least another month. So, let's walk you through it. And she walks towards what appears to be a docking ring that's clamped onto the bottom of the ship and walks into it with you guys. This thing is big immediately. I'm going to have you guys make me perception rolls. All of them.
Okay.
If you also want to use engineering or hacking, you can use all three.
I mean,
Said perception rules.
Yep, you can use awareness. So this would be either awareness, engineering, or your hacking. Basically, it determines what you're looking at. If you're using hacking, you're looking at the electronic systems. If you're using engineering, you're actually assessing the ship like structurally, mechanically. If you're
Got an 8.
using your awareness, you're
can I
viewing it
use
normally.
a reroll for that?
You can. You also can, if you want. Don't forget your child of tomorrow.
Oh, my 16
You do have 2 16s.
and a d6 for luck.
Yes, you do have your luck die. That's fair. So JJ, you
Oh, nice.
rolled a 11, and I believe that's perception, right?
Jesus.
Okay. So Bon, you rolled an 8, and what's your mod?
5.
5. That's solid. That's a 13. And then Derek, you rolled a total of you rolled an 8. Okay. Well, each of you see different things on this ship, and I'll point this out to you with how the ship actually sort of works. So this is me pointing out like how the base system sort of functions. You'll notice that the way this thing is laid out. This is my first attempt at making a sheet for ship, and I think it looks okay. First thing you notice is the stats are very similar to your own as a player. Handling, output, structure, processor, and bravery are pretty much one-to-ones for coordination, might, endurance, intellect, and willpower. These govern different things, but more or less, I think it makes sense more or less what it says on the face of it. Your processor is how powerful your computer is on board, which is where we come into you, Kushitaka. This is a civilian freighter. And if it ever had anything more advanced than that on it, it's been stripped away, sold, cut down to its base components. The processor of this ship is built for what would be referred to as a sapient AI, or a full AI. This thing is old. This ship, probably, looking at that, this thing is over 200 years old. And that's pretty common for a lot of ships. They get refurbished, sent out 100 times over. When you make things that are kilometers in length, that have huge amounts of steel and resources in them, prefer not to scrap them, but rather refurbish them and modify them, bring them to code. However, this thing could work with a symbiotic AI, much like Calcifer. He could occupy this thing. Although, if you put him in here, it would likely increase his complexity. Over time, he might become more sapient. So
Person Calcifer, let's go.
that would be
that comes with risks, though.
yeah. Well, I leave that in your capable hands to manage the risk, but that is a thing to
I'm
assess.
going to turn him into the arch hacker and treat him like my son.
The boy. So that said, also, in terms of the rest of the ship's electronics, the biggest issue would be it has like no major defenses. It's a hardy system because it has a true AI core at its heart for what could work. It means that its electronic warfare systems are surprisingly rugged for an old ship. If you got a ship 100 years later, it would have been designed for symbiotic AI, which means it would be a lot less resilient to electronic attack. You'd probably be like one whole die type lower on your processor. But it could do with some upgrades. At least if you're planning on getting into electronic warfare skirmishing.
Oh, I am. How much would it cost?
That's a great question. So, this is where I start uploading these tokens that I've been making for a while in the background, because I've been making these tokens this entire time while we've been talking. Thank you, Derek, for running the stream so I can run this in the background. Yeah, love you, pal. So, going over here, we should have it in the starships. So, the first step for you would be to get an electronic warfare system on here. And I can do that by showing you all the different modules we have. I'm just going to upload these, and all 5 will hopefully upload shortly. As I make sure I'm on the right layer. Yes, we're in objects and tokens. Sick. Okay. So right now, the ship is equipped with these. As I open this up, and right, I need to fix this. Still getting used to some things. No grid. Get grid. Get a grid out of here. Shoot grid. There you go.
Grid
Save
be
seconds.
gone.
Grid be gone! Here we go. Okay, so what you would want is an ECM module, and they would be pretty effective if you can get them. They cost a pretty penny, though. 4,000 current to start. You're basically getting a Starship-sized electronic warfare system. These things right now, though, all this thing is equipped with, if I can get this to close. There we go. Ha. I said ha-ha. That means you close. There we go.
Hmm.
So right now, this thing is only equipped with cargo modules. It has a total of 9. Each of these things is basically built for one simple purpose, and that is to carry shit. You can use it to carry mechs, ships, cargo, whatever you'd like. There's no real limit to it. Or at least there's no limit to what you can fit in, as long as it fits under 30,000 kilograms. Basically, this is like a cargo container on a big ship at sea, a container ship at sea. Literally the same thing 1-to-1. Only this is meant to go into space.
Okay.
So you've got 9 of these things.
9 slots, basically, is what you're saying for modules.
Not just that, these themselves are actually modules that have their own worth, about 1,000 current each. You can sell them to help purchase better modules, as you would like. So if you want to get that warfare suit, you're going to need to get at least one of those things sold and replaced with it, and, you know, the 4,000 current cost. Furthermore, you'll also notice the way that there's a little thing on that ECM slot. I'm going to zoom in on this for you. Most systems on a starship have a power drain rating on them. And you'll notice you have a reactor. This is just like your reactors on foot. Every turn, you recover a certain amount. That's equal to your recovery dies. You just roll a d4, and that's how much power you put in the reactor. You start at your max capacity, and you subtract every turn however much you're drawing from. To use the system, you need to assign power to it. So to turn that thing on, every turn, it takes a power of 3. And this thing recovers d4 power per turn.
Is there a way, hear me out,
Yeah.
that we could sell an adjacent cargo module and install a mini reactor?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Does anybody have problems with me going and messing around with the ship before we get started?
No.
Go ahead.
The only thing that I wanted to ask was, does the ship come with like some sort of cargo bay, or would that be like a module as well?
So the cargo bays themselves that you see here, these are all cargo modules. So
Right.
they are all cargo bays. This thing is literally a hauler. So all those boxes on the side, those are the boxes. Those are the modules. So when you replace one of these modules, you're literally pulling one out and putting it back in. Right now, you have 9 cargo bays.
Okay.
Which means this ship can pull
Oh,
a lot. 270,000 kilograms of material from world to world,
Damn.
which is probably
How-
overkill for your needs.
right.
How much is the mini reactors? Are the mini reactors?
Ah, that's the ticket now, isn't it? So I'm literally making these things as we're going. So looking down at this, considering the exponential increase in cost for each of these things, that's pretty pricey. Your hacking module is about there. For this, God, we're probably looking at about 10,000.
Okay. And what could I do to soup up my electronic warfare suite that I will use to benefit the party? Obviously, I'm not just getting this for fun, just because I want to get
No,
getting it
it's
to
fair.
help out the party.
I figure there's a good motive behind this. So that's the real trick of this. Right now, given your current Voyager rating, they're not willing to sell you more than a certain amount. That reactor system is about as powerful as it's going to get. It's anything for the electronic warfare suite. This is the version that you can afford now and that they're willing to sell to you. If you go elsewhere, you might be able to get better parts. But your best bet in this instance would be to buy more. Unlike a hacking module on foot, this stacks. So if you have let's assume you just go all in on this, and have 9 of these electronic warfare suites, all crewed, all powered, which good luck with that. I don't know how you manage it reactor-wise, but if you did, like for maybe 1 turn, you can manage it. But if you did for 1 action, for 1 hacking action, you'd be sitting at 9, your basic processor score of D8, plus your firmware bonuses of D6 each, so it'd be plus 9 D6, plus your base stats, which you'd be the one hacking, or your electronic warfare specialist hacking. So you're plus your hacking mod.
Okay. I think I understand what to do.
Yeah.
I would like to, and how much does, just out of curiosity, how much does that, the other reactor add?
So the other reactor will basically add another recovery die. So it'll be a D4 at the start.
Okay. In that case, I think what I would like to do is purchase 2 warfare suites and 1 reactor. 1 mini
Okay.
reactor.
I'll show you your other options as well, so you guys have an idea of what you're looking at. So right now, like I said, you have what's referred to. So this is a little thing I'm going to show you guys very quickly about how starships work in Legacy. You have modularity. And for the record, let me make this very clear. This isn't just starship rules. This is base building rules. This is your base. So this is how you would build any base in the future. The limit is that starships have what's referred to as a modularity, which means that's how much you can modify it before you just run out of space. Orbitals have much bigger modularity scores. They can put a fuckload more stuff, but they don't fly. Unlike this thing, which flies. Finally, I guess the detail is every modularity point, that basically is a slot for a module to slot in. Some modules take more space as time goes on. So just so you guys are aware of how that works. So each of these pieces of equipment represent 1 module, with 1 major exception, which would be this buddy
Is it
right
drones?
here. No, actually drones are 1, but that is a thing you can get. Those would be referred to as darts in this. Drones are dart arrays. You could even get launch bays for fighters and stuff like that eventually. So,
Neat.
But yeah, the mass driver is rare in the fact that it takes multiple modules. The bigger your gun gets, and the bigger your equipment gets, the more you got to equip it with. Likewise, you'll be able to put things like extra boosters to go faster, energy shields to protect your ship, which might I mention, in Legacy, energy shields on ships, kind of pivotal. Where in like Star Wars, it's like, or like even in Star Trek, it's like this invisible thin skin around the ship that takes hits from everywhere. In Legacy, it's a tower. You choose a direction to protect yourself against, literally putting up a kite shield between you and oncoming forces. It's basically the only way starships can survive like any extended firefight with anything. Right now, this ship is not made for a firefight. This ship is, at best, skirmishing. If you ever want to get into a slugfest with another ship, you will eventually want a shield projector. And those draw power a lot.
Makes sense to me.
Okay. I will continue to make more of these things as you go through. So that was your assessment, just looking at the power. Now, Bon, with your roll, given what you got, and it's pretty high, you're able to just immediately assess a couple of nice things with the ship. 1, this ship has been well cared for. Despite the fact that whoever owned it last looks like they sold a lot of its components for parts, the components that are left, which is basically the base flying elements of the starship, they're actually in good working order. Whoever the engineer was on the ship, they cared enough for it to keep it flying properly. Now, also, it must be said that I'm going to move these out of the way so we can have that pretty picture properly displayed. So, in terms of this ship as a whole, it's rugged. Its damage chart, which the way this works is as you take damage, as time goes on, you're going to hit each of those little sections. That's how many points you have left of hit points, more or less, for your ship, or in this case, structure. As your ship takes more and more structural damage, it rolls a d10 at each interval to determine which modules are damaged. Any module that's damaged goes offline and is unusable until it's repaired. So you will lose up to 4 systems, but you have 40 hit points in this thing? For a ship this size, yeah, like it's all but double what you would normally get. Again, she wasn't lying when she said this ship is made to be handled well. You're basically being given a cargo container ship. So, yeah, this thing will get the crap kicked out of it and still keep going. Its biggest weakness that you can assess would be its reactor and its engines. It has a very low thrust. In Legacy, starships keep going in the direction they move. Momentum is maintained.
Hi, JJ.
So-
Hi,
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Nat.
Good to see you.
I got very excited. Sorry.
No, you're
No,
good.
you're
You're good.
good.
It's good to see. So in Legacy, ships are on a grid just like every other combat. We reduce it to two-dimensional space to keep things easy. But more or less, as you're moving, your ship keeps moving every turn in the same direction it did in the last turn at that same speed. And the only way to change that is to either reverse thrust, literally slow yourself down, or to change your direction, in which case you're preserving momentum, still moving that speed, just now in a different way. So thrust isn't just how fast you move. It isn't like your pace where you just move a certain number of spaces and you stop. It's how fast you can go every turn and how much fast you can go every turn. And there is no limit. If you want to, you could go full thrust every single turn, and just by turn 4, you'll be spinning across the battlefield at 12. Hell, you can go so fast you literally would leave the battlefield in a turn. It's entirely possible. But, you know, the issue is slowing down then. Coming to a full stop would take like a very skilled pilot and likely subject the ship to crazy G-forces. So the thrust is not that great. It's slow inertia. It's a very slow build-up. It's got power. It does not have speed. This is a GMC van carrying your shit, not a Porsche going from 0 to 100. The recovery die represents your ship's support systems. It's radiators.
God damn
it's
it, man! I'm a freighter, not a fighter.
Yeah, exactly. The recovery down this is the lowest it can possibly be, short of a D3, which is like literally just not a combat ship. That's like a personal yacht. That's how much power you get every turn. And if your reactor bottoms out, then you need to recharge the reactor completely before you can use any of your modules. So those are both things you want to work on if you want the ship to be effective in combat or survive. I remember you mentioned you want the ship to go faster. That'd be extra drive modules. That'd be extra reactor modules. Those would be your restrictions. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Finally.
Feisting.
Yeah. Finally, JJ, you rolled very well. So I can give you the full starship description at the bottom and just let you know. This ship, how often have you been on starships, JJ? I don't think your character's been on many starships.
Not many. Maybe once, like when I went from my collegiate, to my probably barrel line or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But
So
very limited.
yeah. So what you would know is how many people this ship takes. This ship is not a streamlined military craft. Even those tend to have hundreds, if not thousands, of personnel, depending on the size of the ship. The larger your ship, the more exponentially more crew you need, as it just tends to go. And as ships in Legacy tend to go from, on average, are measured in kilometers, and the smallest ships are like a half a kilometer to like maybe a quarter of a kilometer for like a yacht with like only a couple dozen people on it. A ship this big, on its low level, a skeleton crew of 75 would be enough. If you want this thing properly crewed, you need 350 people plus specialists. It's gonna be a lot. This is a little village that flies, basically. And just looking at this, you can sort of just see how well worn this thing is. It's cared for well, but the ground, the paneling below you, you notice that the panels in some places seem to have like repeated dents from people having walked in it over and over again, almost like the shadow of footfalls. The walls have some slight like discoloration, where you can see people have put their hands over and over in the same spot, and the oils of their hands have discolored the metal. And even the lighting in some places, a little dimmer than it could be. But it's a good ship at first assessment. She's an old and a very humble craft, but it's a good place to start. You could easily see a ship like this probably eventually getting to like the status of a small corvette or like an attack destroyer, something like that. Maybe probably a frigate. Destroyer would be giving it too much credit. But a frigate, like the smallest type of ship of the line, or in that ballpark, yeah, this thing upgraded could actually be pretty scary. You also notice something on it as well, which is a plaque. As you eventually get to the, this would be probably where you would end up, would be on the bridge. And the bridge itself is a rather interesting arrangement. It's circular for the most part, and built around what appears to be this large central column, which has a chair integrated into it. The chair is not made for a human. Immediately at first glance, you can see it's made for a click. It's like a bucket. It's sort of meant to be curled into. And around it are numerous stations along walls, and many of them are made to be standing stations, but appear to have almost what look like, you ever seen like leaning bars in certain places?
Mhm.
Kind of like that, but made for like full body. So you could sort of like lean all the way back. You can even see there appear to be like straps that lock down, not on like a standing roller coaster, to prevent G-forces from causing too much injury. Many of them are human, some of them are non. They can easily be swapped out. But the whole thing is built on the center of this captain's position. And there is what appears to be a central view screen facing forward. But you also can tell by just looking at the walls that where all these stations are, the stations can rise and fall on what appear to be hydraulic lifts, and the wall paneling behind them appears to be some kind of projectable screen. So it can literally create a 360-degree view of space from the ship's scanners on the interior of the ship. Now, if you need to look closer, you can literally have one of the specialists lower their station so you can see more clearly in that direction. So it's a pretty nice thing. Also, the carpet in here is relatively nice. It's like a nice, it's not shag, it's like a nice tight fiber red. Very much like an office with a decent cushioned carpet. It's a very warm place. Also, this is a little weird for you because, as you might have noticed earlier, Oren said the last owners of the ship were human.
Mhm.
The captain was not human. The captain is Click. So,
Right.
read from that what you will.
I'm suspecting a William in there.
All right.
Is Cogsworth already on the ship?
Cogsworth is not on the ship,
Okay.
but you could easily call him if you'd like. After all, if you want to start getting equipment for this thing, you're going to need him here. He's the guy.
He's our guy. Everybody has
Yeah.
a guy. That's our guy.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the dude.
He's our guy.
Yeah.
I've already said what I'm going to be doing. I have checked my money, and I have enough. So as long as nobody has any problems with it, I'm going to be going about getting that done.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Oh, you're all good.
So if that's the case, then yeah, I imagine you'd probably want to get. You're probably going to get Cogsworth down here, and eventually, the fluffy Click would arrive. The brown sort of plumage, occasionally shedding scales, and you can see that he's like literally sort of dusting himself off as he approaches with his paddles.
Stop making me want to like a squeeze toy of him.
I would not mind a plushie of Cogsworth. As he eventually approaches, you just. All right, you called, I answered, and oh, wow, Weir's breath. That's a ugly ship.
It needs work.
Yeah, it does. Whose is that? Is that ours?
For now. Hopefully. You know.
There is ours.
Yeah.
All ours.
Well, you know what they say about real estate. Even if it's ugly, it's real estate. And that's ours. So, who wants to get to work on this thing? Because, by the way, have you acquired a crew yet?
No.
All right. Well, I can.
I
handle
trust you guys can handle that. Come on. I can stop. Come on.
Yeah, I can see like Kushitaka just like arm around in the back and just like hustling him around. There's him like doing his little crawling thing after him. Yeah, no, he would begin to he would open up the market and begin to negotiate prices and see what he can find for you. So Kushitaka is going to get to work on that. What do you guys want on this thing? I know for a fact, and I'm going to say this for Louis' sake. Louis is going to want at least one of those cargo modules because that can carry 4 constructs. And constructs are his walkers, they're his aerospace craft, they're what makes him him. So,
Okay.
and also you guys can't get from a planet's surface to the and back without one of them. So you're going to want to keep one cargo module at least.
Right.
I would like the mass driver.
Ooh, you want the big one, huh? All right. The Gosh Hawk's pretty fucking powerful. In Legacy, depending on the species, different species use different weapons, right? Technological bases are vastly different in the different 8 species of the galaxy. These are both human-derived weapons. So linear cannons, they're kind of more like what you and I would consider like field guns. They're medium-sized like weapons designed for medium ranges. Their speeds are solid, and their impact pretty significant. It's a great way to harangue a ship at medium range. Mass drivers, on the other hand, mass drivers don't just use a magnetic coil to launch a small chunk of metal, or in some cases like a bullet-sized thing. No. A mass driver displaces a huge amount of mass, and does so by actually like turning the distance. And basically, the longer a mass driver is, the more powerful it becomes. The Gosh Hawk takes up two slots, 2 modules, specifically because it will take 2 modules to fit the damn thing on your ship. Which means if we're looking at roughly the length of this thing, this whole thing is about 3/4 of a kilometer. It's about 1/4 of a kilometer long to fire this for this gun to work. And that's after it's coiled in on itself a couple of times. It fires a slug roughly about the size of your average mid-sized sedan of pure tungsten. Tungsten, usually with like some sort of ferric external structure or ferric core
As
to
long as
catch
it's
the
not a
magnetic field.
Mustang.
Well, don't do that. That's a waste. But yeah, this thing hits like a brick. It's basically a sniper rifle in space. The big trick is it takes a whole turn to reload. The thing literally has to not just put a new slug in, but discharge electricity. If you don't, you could literally unleash an electromagnetic wave that wouldn't just damage the ship's systems. Close enough to it, it could depolarize neurons in a human brain. So if you ever run a magnetic strip over a VHS tape, imagine doing that to a human or an organic life form. Basically what you're risking if you fire this thing too quick. So that would be what you're asking for. The big issue with it would be its power drain. Every time you fire it, it will take 4 points of energy from your reactor to use. And your ship only generates D4 per turn. So it is very likely you'll be operating at a loss. It's not a bad option. Just be aware, that right there, that's your coup de grace. If you want another gun to do like other mid-range fighting, not a bad option either. Just thoughts. So right now on the docket, I'm just going to get out a shopping list for you guys. Literally just going to grab a note card here.
Love shopping.
Yeah,
Right?
it's I told you guys straight up, this is basically a shopping episode to a degree.
Shopping.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's just you're shopping for a starship. So,
I spent 18,000 cred. Let's go.
hell yeah. All right. So Kushitaka, what is it you specifically want? Just make sure.
2 of the electronic warfare suites and 1 mini reactor.
2 ECM, 1 reactor. Roger that. And this isn't a mini reactor. This is a full-on Grenda particle reactor. This is like adding a whole other drive core to the ship, basically. Also, another thing that's important to mention. This ship does have a spacefold drive.
That's good.
Just so
nice.
you know.
Make
It's
it easier for us to get
slow.
around.
Yeah, it's slow though. This thing can only, it's a class 5 spacefold drive. Spacefold drives are classified by how many hours in between jumps it takes. So if you want to spacefold more than once, you need to wait 5 hours before it cools down again from the last one.
Okay.
So just so you're aware, the lower the class, the better it is. So that's 2 ECMs, and that is, 8,000. And then the reactor, which, how much was that again, Derek?
You said the reactor was 10,000.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Still writing these rules out, so it's nice to have a hard record.
I have
That's right,
11,000 total remaining.
Okay, that's fair. So we have that. So that's going to take up. So that's 3 modularity. So that's 3 modules out of your 9.
Mhm. If we need to, I'll chip in for like a shield reactor or something. I have no problem doing so.
Okay.
Seems
that's
important to keep us alive.
Yeah.
Something like
fair.
that.
So we have one cargo, and that we're just going to leave there. So that's cargo. That doesn't cost a damn thing. That's free because you guys had 9 of them to begin with.
And the defense was 2,000, right?
The what?
Defense array was 2,000.
Oh, yes. Yeah. The point defense array. So point defense arrays aren't like linear cannons, which are exactly what they sound like. They're cannons. Or the mass driver, which is a big fuck-off gun that runs the length of your ship. Point defense arrays are turrets. These are basically... There's a reason they're called Vulcan cannons. Imagine a Gatling gun scaled up to... I mean, literally, you don't have to imagine it. It's an A-10 Warthog cannon, basically. But in, like, duos or trios put on turrets. So... That is a very solid, like, short-range weapon. So you wanted a Vulcan cannon. And then, I'm going to put that for Louis. So Louis keeping one of the cargoes. Becky. Why did I give you an E in your name? Jeez, I'm having a day.
Because there is an E in there?
No. I put an E after the K in Becky.
Oh.
Yeah, like I said, I'm having a day.
Becky.
You know
So
there's
you-
somebody out there who spells their name like that, so you're all good.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. This is 400 years in the future. If they weren't before, they are now. So you wanted a mass driver? Okay, that's 8,500 current, and that's going to be 2 modules.
I mean, I feel like I will actually abstain from that because my money can go towards the crew.
Roger that. Okay, that's fair. So you just want to get a Vulcan cannon then. So the point defense array. So PD. And so, fun fact, point defense arrays are often automated. They're usually not directly operated by crew. The crew usually handle the safe operation of it, but it's usually the ship's AI that's firing those things. Or at least, coordinating the firing solutions. So that's 2,000 current, and that takes 1 module. Okay. And then, let's see what else. So we have an electronic warfare suite. We have... So far, you guys have used a total of 5 of these 9 modules. Which means that you will be selling 4 of these, because one of these is just a cargo module. So that means you get a further 4,000 current back, because you're selling them at cost. So, unless you want to leave them here to keep in the future. I don't know if you guys want to hold on to 9 cargo modules or just sell them.
probably
Nah,
not.
sell it. Liquidate
Okay.
that asset.
Okay.
Liquidate it.
So that'd be
Mhm.
minus 4
Yeah,
cargoes.
Well, should we keep one extra besides Louis?
Yeah, sure. That's fine. So we'll have 2 cargo
Just for like
modules.
supplies and stuff for the crew, whatnot.
All right, that's fair. So far, the total cost that's been gone into, looking at this, is that's not too bad. That's 16,000 current. Really, kind of a steal so far. Did you want to have anything slightly longer range on this? They do have missile pods and also like drone swarms, laser cannons, stuff like that, as well as also like the linear cannons, which are pretty
Probably
decent.
not yet because they won't be targeting us to kill us because that would risk destroying the forge or compromising it.
A fair assessment. Did you want to put any energy shields on this ship?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, energy shield array. All right. So if that's the case, then looking at the costs that I have here, your average energy shield for this sort of thing. Costs aren't too extreme, honestly. For what you're getting, yeah, I would say you're sitting at probably, oh, that's really cheap, actually. Yeah, that's actually as cheap as that. You're looking at about 5,000 current per. So there you go. So that's 5,000, and that would take 1 module.
Okay.
Are we getting 2 shields?
If you want, you could get multiples. That literally creates extra walls they have to punch through. Each one of these energy shields is effectively its own pool of health. It will take damage before the ship does. And then when they die, it's just a matter of restarting them again. They don't blow up unless the system fails because you've taken damage. It's just a matter of paying the energy to restore it back to max again.
Yeah, then I'll pay for the second.
Okay, so that's 2. So 2 of these, that brings that up to another 10,000. I would advise an extra energy, at least 1 extra reactor module, if that's the case.
How much was that?
10.
10,000 current for this base, and another 10 for the reactor. Okay. So looking at that, that would be... So that's 2 cargo modules, 3 ECM and reactor, another 2 for the energy shields, another 1 for the reactor, and for the point defense array. You have exactly 9.
Nice.
Crushing
Sick.
We are ready.
Done. Hell yeah. You also can, if you want, turn any of the cargo containers into extra space. They aren't just for carrying shit. You can literally turn them into, like, think of them as like a 2-story office building. You just haven't put shit in.
How many cargo containers do we have left?
2. One of them is
Okay,
for
we got to turn
Louis
one of
Mack.
those into a training dojo.
Yes. I agree.
All right, yeah. You would have, literally, these things are so big, they go across every deck of the ship. And this ship has a total of, I believe it's 2 decks for this thing.
Cool.
It'd be, 2 decks plus the infrastructure. So yeah, you basically have 2 stories to do whatever you want with. And probably the equivalent of, like, I want to say 10 rooms.
Living out my
take.
fantasies of having my own gym
Space
and yeah.
You can take the one where Louis has his stuff at the bottom, and then you can have your training
Dojo at
dojo
top. Yeah.
at the top. I'm gonna
You
take the
can-
next one, the top, to just make a med bay. So I'm just gonna go get
There you
medical
go.
supplies and just put medical shit in there.
That is a
Nice.
thing. You could actually get a medical bay. It's its own module. So
Okay, well we
that's-
don't got space for all that. I'm just gonna get
Well, I
some
mean, I
medical
can
supplies
sacrifice the
for right
Vulcan
now.
cannon. I can sacrifice the Vulcan cannon if we need a med bay.
you
No,
have
I like having the Vulcan cannon.
yeah,
Okay.
you would have no
Mhm.
teeth otherwise. It would just be your
Yeah.
electronic warfare systems, which
I
are
like-
That's my-
powerful.
What's the phrase? That's my emotional support Vulcan cannon.
Yeah.
All right. So looking at this, we have 2 cargo modules. I'm gonna just literally take all the ones that you're not going to be using. So that's 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 that we're selling so far. 3 cargos. That's 3 so far. We have the electronic warfare suites, which you have 2 of, as I recall. Correct, Yoshitaka?
Mhm.
Okay. So, fun fact: you're going to be crewing. You're going to have people and electronics crewing that. So
Sick.
it basically would be you sitting in like one of the modules or on the bridge, like commanding a number of people to help boost your processing power.
Oh hell yeah!
So that's 4. So that's
We need to develop stage 1. Develop our own custom AI script. That's just the best thing in the world at hacking.
totally possible. You can actually, I would be more than willing to, if you want, over time, like I said, you can make friends and allies with people who frequently commission you. And, they might be willing to help you guys make new shit, if you would like.
Hell yeah!
So I'm pulling those out. I'm going to put shields there. So
JJ, you still have Calcifer in your wrist link, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just be like, here you go, buddy.
I'm just putting this here till I have a proper token to put here. So, just so I can be aware of it. Same thing with the reactors.
Yeah.
I promise they won't look this hideous. Okay.
Shields.
Shields. We also have 2 reactors, so I will take this cargo module out, and then we have the 2 other reactors. I'm just going to actually use my pen this time, so I don't feel like a dingus. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Come on, work on it. Here we go. Oh, it's going to make me use the pen. Fine. It's going to make me use this. So, reactor. Okay, so these will be 2 reactors. A reacto. I'm not going to write the whole thing. I don't feel like doing it. I will literally have a proper thing to fill this out shortly. Okay. So that's 2 reactors, 2 shield arrays, 2 electronic warfare suites, your point defense array, and 2 cargo modules, which means, ironically, the 2 yellow ones in the back are the ones that you're keeping as the as the salon pods for you guys, the actual cargo modules. So Louis gets to choose one of them, and you can also change the colors of them as you will. So like, feel free to let me know what color you want your like mech to look like. This whole thing to look like the ship, the pods, whatever. I'll tinker with them between streams.
Have it polka dots. She were an itty bitty teeny.
Oh, something tells me the party would not be okay with polka dots.
No.
Absolutely not.
I get the feeling that it would be like one of those, like, you guys looking at wallpaper and Becky holds at the polka dot and everyone just sort of
No.
shakes their head no.
That looks like a great idea for another project. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
That looks like that'd be great on the inside of a psych ward, but not here. So, you more or less, like, equipped your ship. I'll get you guys the total cost here. So that means you've 7 of these, so that's $7,000 rebate out of a total cost of, I'm just going to get the actual calculator here because, you're spending a fuckload of money. And it's yeah.
I tried to keep track of all that in my calculator. It's like,
There's not much need for it. I can literally do it right here. So 2,000 plus a further... Gotta be another 10,000 plus a further 10,000. The total cost for all of you is going to be about 40,000 current.
Okay, so each of us can give 10.
And actually, hold on, I forgot the rebate.
Oh.
33,000 because you're selling 7 cargo pods. Because those are each worth 1,000 by themselves. So you're pawning those off, and she's happily taking them. And you can very clearly see the ship mistress is, as you're
ship
like,
mistress?
oh, that's the proper
Ship
term.
mistress.
Ship master, ship mistress, dock master, dock mistress. I guess if you don't want to be specific to gender, it could be dock master. But either way,
Doc
for
Madam.
Madam
the
Dog.
madame of space.
Madame.
As you're literally like choosing these modules, there's a series of cranes that are coming up and like plucking one off and another one's being put on. And so as the cargo module is being removed, she's literally just like checking them off on this screen in front of her. You can see them being put onto a conveyor and moved into the massive infrastructure, into the dark beyond this hangar bay. Very clearly, she's going to reuse those later. If they're not going to be used on a ship, they might be used here. They can always be turned into simple, like, housing habs. This is how things like the hab modules back on Barreldyne, things like this get reprocessed into those. So, housing is an easy thing in space. So then, having tinkered about with your starship, what are you guys going to do for crew?
I mean, we need Cogsworth, so we're paying him.
I'm assuming Cogsworth and Gallant are both sticking around.
Yes, hopefully, if they want to.
I will tell you right now, Cogsworth, if you try to offer to pay him, will chuckle, just hold up a little paddle and just be like, absolutely not. I am a merchant. You're paying me to set up shop on your ship. I don't need to be worrying about that. Just don't charge me any rental fees and we'll call it even.
I love him so much. Above table, out of character. I need to squeeze him. He's just so perfect.
I feel like if anyone says anything like that, I'll be like, yeah, don't thank me that. You won't be thanking me when the bills come due for the ship you're buying. But
That's business.
it is. See, yeah. Oh,
Just
perfect.
catch Becky around the corner being like, I need to hug him. Just, no.
And Gallant would 100% just say he's on board for the ride. He would simply just say, I'm here because I want to see this through. The currency, the payment, all that, that's fine. If you want to throw me some money, so be it. But as long as I'm an officer, I'll be getting room, board, charging ports, food where I might want it. I don't need to eat, but doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. Yeah, my needs are covered. Consider me in. Which still leaves you with needing a captain. You technically do have a science officer in Gallant, so you don't need to worry about that. And the logistics officer is also covered. But that still does leave you, as I take my pen and literally mark these guys off up here, you do still need a pilot, an engineer, a captain, and preferably a diplomat.
God dang, an engineer who's not me?
You are part of the fire team.
Yeah.
If you guys are on a planet doing your thing and they're in space getting ambushed, you want them to have a crew to do their job when you're not present.
True.
Not to mention, micromanaging a starship is a great way to piss off the crew. Technically, you guys are commissioning the ship. You're the captains, but in the strictest sense, you're technically commissioning the ship indefinitely. It's your ship, but the crew is commissioned crew. Think of it like a Treasure Planet, you know? That whole bit where, well, what did I say about the crew? A menagerie of clueless galoots. Like, the captain and the first officer might have owned the ship, but the crew is hired port to port. So, that's a consideration for you.
So, can we ask the dock major, because now she is the dock major.
Yeah.
They're changing her title every time.
We're gonna do a different title every time. Can we ask the dock major if where we can find like a list of candidates or people who are for hire to fill these positions?
Yeah, she said
Well,
she'd
we're-
compile like profiles for us.
Right.
Yeah, as you ask about this, I figure at this point you're probably doing this either from the bridge of the ship or you're doing this from like your personal ready room, because the captain would have a. You guys also have captain's quarters, by the way. Fair to let you
I'm
know,
the
those are
captain
independent.
now.
So those are your own personal rooms. They're bigger than anything you've had so far. They're about
Crown.
They're literally the size of a very nice, like a nice suite in a hotel. Big, like small apartment, like what would be the word studio apartment? Basically that size. And there's at least one for each of you. It looks like there's an extra like 8. Just like a whole secondary deck has been dedicated towards officers' quarters.
Can I cut mine in half and dedicate one half to a black box situation?
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go. Safe interaction.
So, as she meets you guys on the deck, she would hand over the tablet she has and just say, right here would be your best suggestion for candidates, at least by my assessment. It's not perfect, but the big trick would be convincing the diplomat. It's not that he's very tired. You might need to encourage him to get back in the game. The captain, however, came with the ship.
Previous owner?
Not an owner. She was the commission captain. Her name is Shariah Mumathan. A click. And an excellent commander. She's getting on in years, but she's got at least a good decade left in her. And she's experienced. You would need to personally recruit her. She's currently up at the lounge, along with the ambassador. At least the last I saw him. He might be elsewhere. Ask around. Worst case, ask Orin. He might be able to find him. As far as the pilot and the engineer, I have a couple of options there. Feel free to interview them. See what you like. I leave this up to you. The crew is yours, as is the ship. Take good care of her. And I did want to ask, and before she leaves the chamber, she taps on this little brass panel that's been inset on the central column of the captain's chair. And right above where the seat is this brass. It's basically a plaque. And on it, you can see there's the Union symbol, the ring with 8 points and a star in the middle. And next to it, the name UVC Arcarian, as seen at the top of the page. And she taps on that. If you want me to change the ship's registry, I can do that. Your choice. She's your ship to name and pilot. But the name itself isn't too bad. It's got character, if not a little weird.
Better than the Quib Quib.
also like Mass Effect. And she nods and walks towards the doorway, leaving you all to decide what to do.
Well, I guess we should interview those candidates then.
Are we going to rename the ship? I
I like it.
don't mind it either. I think it's a pretty nice name.
I do not have a more original name or anything, so I am down for just keeping it the same.
All right.
Oh, and we do have to consider our team name too.
No, we do not. He will follow the group, or he will get poked in the mandible.
So, just so you guys are aware, just a fun little fact: the designation UVC acronym, Union Voyager Craft, is what UVC stands for. It's different species, different subfactions will have different designations in front. But for you, this very clearly lays the Acheron as a Voyager starship. So we can get someone in to polish that that plaque for you very shortly. Now, about the rest of you guys and getting your crew. Who wants to go do what? You have a week, so you can take your time. You don't have to do it all in one day. If you want to take some rest, it's early afternoon at this point.
Do they have a counselor that I can talk to and be like, I have to talk to an AI. I have to tell them everything's wrong in the nicest way possible.
They do have mental health services on board the Spire if you wish to have a therapy session with them. So, make me, if you want to do that for the evening,
Yes.
make me a willpower roll.
Ooh. Yeah, just a D10.
Okay.
That was a 5.
Okay. So, the therapist is a pretty gentle soul. An Anazali, older woman.
Oh no.
She listens quietly and pleasantly, and you get the feeling that she's been on this for many, many years. And at the end of it, she basically, you realize she's done what many therapists do. They just let you answer your own problems.
No.
That's really what most therapists are there to guide a conversation. They're not there to give you a prescription on how to handle your life. However, by talking with her, she does more or less summarize it with the unfortunate, this does sound like it's a judgment call on your part, and I don't feel justified in telling you how you want to do this. But I do recommend, in my experience, living in truth is easier than living with a lie. Especially if it's one that might harm others.
Yeah, I
Just
just
my
didn't know how to
perspective.
broach the subject of the truth without it being, I want to guide the train into the station, not railroad it through.
This is an open wound. This is a broken bone. There's no way to reset that without pain. It's going to be a rough conversation, no matter how you do it. Just have it. It's the more important part.
That's why the black box room.
Also, I will let you know that all these conversations are confidential. However, you may not wish to discuss things quite that in detail with me in the future. Just saying, the less I know about this, the better. And she turns around and grabs a small thing of whiskey and downs it. She's been pouring progressively more fingers of it as the conversation has gotten longer and more terrifying.
When you break the therapist.
So if you had rolled high enough, I would have given you a bonus to your next willpower roll. But in this case, you rolled enough to you're okay. What is everybody else doing?
I'm gonna find a.
There are
How many
three
people live on the
positions.
mantle?
Say what?
How many people are on the mantle?
The mantle has a population in the billions.
Okay.
It is
So-
a full-on Dyson ring.
You remember Cicada 3301?
Are you mentioning that? Yes.
So Cicada 3301 was an alternate reality game that was rumored to be a real life induction for like a society of crypto breakers and people that are really good at bending ciphers and stuff.
Right.
I would like to create my own version of that to recruit the most capable hacker and crypto breaker on the mantle.
Make me a research roll. Make me a
Oh no, I
research
don't
roll.
have a good research.
Oh,
Okay,
this is gonna be fun.
so this is intelligence, right?
Yes, this is intellect based.
Nothing else I get out of that?
Let's take a look and see what you've got. I'll pop onto your character sheet and have a look.
I like how
So-
he's doing this on day one. Day one, Hacker Network. Let's get it.
I'm hacker bird.
He's
Hacker
a,
burb.
he's a hacker boy.
I was a
All
hacker
right.
boy. I said, "See you, lacquer boy."
Boy.
I would say for this one, I would let you add your proficiency in espionage to this.
Sick.
Nothing else you really have is super good at this. You could also, if you want, you can make a hacking roll independent of this as well. But we'll get to that in a minute. This is why I'm letting you do research first. So
Can I
that's-
spend a mode of legacy?
most assuredly.
That lets me re-roll the D10, right?
The whole roll. You re-roll the
Oh,
whole
nice.
roll. Yeah. It's a total re-roll. And you can spend
What
as many as you'd like in a roll. Hey, look at that. That's exploded
Nice.
into a 9.
That's an 11.
Nice. That's solid.
And then a hacking roll.
Okay. So this is where things get fun. So I'm going to very quickly... So I figure we can go over to this then. Yeah, this feels good. All right. So... there you go. So that's a 6 and
18.
a 6. 18. That's good. All right. So, here in the mantle, a world with a population of billions, really. A ring with a population of billions, as old as the Union itself, and with literally billions of people doing their own thing, there are, of course, secrets. And here, as you start doing this digging, and you sort of start looking around, thinking about like you start making your own ARG and that sort of thing. You start thinking about how you're going to gather hackers, and as you do, you sort of end up going into a number of different servers in the Prism, which is again the electronic system of that the Galaxy uses as their internet, basically. And in the Prism, you're in one particular, I guess we could just call it what it is, a room, talking with a number of other individuals, each of them in Prism space with their own avatars, basically full on like 3D style, like imagine Ready Player One levels of immersion. And so as they're having this conversation, you can see two other individuals, one of whom being a synthetic, mention something about the Fox Den. And, the other one he keeps bringing it up whenever you talk about the idea of recruiting hackers. And he goes, well, that would be where you'd want to go. Absolutely, for sure. The Fox's Den is the best place for that kind of infiltration. If you're just looking to recruit rank and files, and you can keep skimming Prism rooms like this, but if you want to crack into something that's military grade, you want to go to one of the boroughs. I just love the idea that you're just like without any anything else, just pulls out of the prison room and immediately goes to the search bar. So this is where your hacking roll has come in. The research was to figure out about this. The hacking roll is to find out what it is. So there's the normal prism, which has its own stratification, much like the internet. You have what we would call the common web, and then below it you have the deep web or the dark web, where it's, the less light tends to peak down there, but it's still there. And then there's the Fox's Den, which also goes by another name now that you've dug into it a little more, because the first thing you find is this little icon of an adorable fox with multiple tails. And as you dig into it a little more, you find that actually the full title of it is actually Kitsune's Run. And it's actually a pretty extensive espionage network.
That's exactly what I was expecting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's been running on the DL of the Prism for at least 200 years. Little more than that. This goes back to humanity's faction wars. Apparently, by rumor, it was started by a hunter during the old days when the hunters who worked for Asgard used to be a human-centric organization. Now it's a wing of the Union that largely deals with outsiders, aka the Ataraxi, and the threat they pose to the galaxy. People say it was founded by a prodigious hacker, one of the transhuman mercenaries back in that day, and it's been kept along for a really long time. Eventually, it fell into the hands of a one Miguel 023. Miguel 023 would be obviously a synthetic by name. No one's sure if that's the exact actual name the guy goes by, but that's certainly the handle he goes by. And he basically runs Kitsune's run as his own personal fiefdom. If you want to learn something about the galaxy, you go there. If you want to recruit the best hackers, you go there. But also be aware, when you go into it, you're basically entering the most hostile digital environment possible. If you try to hack anything there, which the only way to get in is by hacking the servers, there are no open entries. You have to get in. The only other way you get in is if you are invited. And by invited, I mean you are wealthy enough to pay, in which case someone else hacks for you. So by opening up yourself to a hacking attack, you're basically testing the waters already. It's trial by fire recruitment. If they like you enough, they might get into contact with you afterward and say, hey, I'd like to work with you more. That was a pretty cool trick you pulled, blowing out 3 of my computer processors with that move. So, given your hacking roll, after a couple of minutes, you eventually get a ping back. Now, I'm going to make a roll here. That's funny. Okay. Eventually, the ping you get back, guy by the name of Blaster Master. Actually, the full name of like his full call sign online, Blaster Master, pings you back. And you jousted with this guy digitally for the better part of 20 minutes. He nearly set your wrist link on fire at one point. And he's pretty good. But you kind of eventually got the right leverage on him and threw him over, and basically hip through him, judo through him digitally. You DDoSed him so hard that he basically had to drop out of the net. Eventually, you get a message from his call sign, his handle, in normal Prism message, which says, pretty neat trick. Looking for help.
Got work. Need someone capable.
I was expecting something a little condescending there. I was waiting for it.
If you got coordinates,
Wrecked,
I'll get drinks.
I don't think Yushitaka really knows the mantle that well, so he'll like very quickly Google like cool like goth bar.
So yeah, you're probably in one of like the more like edgier parts of the lounge layer of the Spire, where there are a bunch of like a lot of operatives tend to hang out, and engineers, researchers, all the folks who like tinkering around with electronics and hacking modules. Basically, it's like literally a hacker's meet there. Just everyone just palling around doing what is basically the equivalent of like a LAN party or at a LAN center. So yeah, that would be the Spire primarily and the level that you're at. And you would just see, like, after you sent that message to him with the coordinates, there'd be a ... Wait, are you a Voyager? Question mark?
Winky face.
Oh, hell yeah. I'll be there. And, like, literally, he gives you an ETA. He's actually on the other side of the mantle, which, just to put it in perspective, the mantle is one perfect Dyson ring at Earth orbit of a star. So that's like saying I'm a year away. However, the mantle actually does have its own, very rare to find this, public space folding access. So you can actually go there and you get space folded along with a bunch of cargo, supplies, and people. It's basically a mass transit to get from different segments of the ring. So given how long it's going to take for him to get there, he basically gives you like a 2-hour warning, and eventually you get to meet him. So I've got to ask, how do you go about meeting this guy? You go in like looking good, or you wearing your usual gear? Like,
It's a date.
paint the scene for me.
Doing some James Bond thinking.
I need to take them.
Kushatalk is like reserved, like a dance floor on like an upper level where he's like programmed a bunch of like hololiths to like dance around and stuff. And he's gonna make this like kind of Hall of Mirrors type scenario.
Okay, I dig that. So for the cost of that, about 10 current to reserve that chamber. But that's not too bad. So yeah, after a little bit of work, you basically make this very cyberpunk-esque aesthetic chamber. It's very Blade Runner with these holographic dancers all about different like species all arranged, all doing their own thing. Some of them are literally just being piped from the dance floor below in other parts of the lounge where there are dance clubs going on, and they're literally just piping like video feed of those people to create a holographic image of those real people. So yeah, no, it's, and in the middle you have this very nice like this little space off to the side with a nice couch, like relatively pleasant lighting, and you can also get like bar service up here too, so you can get whatever you'd like to drink.
Nice.
Eventually, Blaster Master, or who has to be Blaster Master, arrives, and wouldn't you know it, it's a sylph. As this long quadrupedal, slightly awkward looking, gotta be no more than like 19 years old, dude walks in. And he is wearing this riotous yellow-blue jacket. It looks straight off of like a, it would be safety equipment practically, fluorescent yellow jacket. And other than that, like his clothing is pretty otherwise like reserved. It's largely black, some places denim, other places like traditional like a poly kind of material. And as he walks through, you can see he has this shock of quills going from the back of his head in a very similar bright yellow mohawk. And as he looks around the room, make a roll for him here. Oh shit. He looks right through all the holograms and straight to you. Sylph have incredibly sharp senses, and apparently his are really well honed. And after being up there for a second, his eyes lock onto you. What's your handle online on the Prism? I gotta ask. Have you thought about that?
Please. Please.
He made a burner for this. It's Mech Melter 69420.
I love it.
Oh my god.
So this guy looks right through the crowd and just goes, Mech Melter?
Kind of like wave at him, the drink in my hand.
Pretty snazzy. And he would walk through the crowd, and he wouldn't bother like going around the holograms. He'd just go right through them. And eventually he'd walk him to the table. And he would get onto his hind legs, and that moment where you sort of remember, like, yeah, Sylph had kind of smaller hind legs compared to like the big gorilla-like upper arms. Kind of awkwardly shuffles himself into the chair opposite of you. Never been to the Spire before. Not gonna lie, kind of worried they'd even let me in. So, you got a job, huh?
Yeah. You got roots here?
He sort of like vaguely waves his hand a little bit. Not really. I'm on the other side. Small residential district, buried way down. Don't really get to see the light too often. But I've been hacking on the mantle for years. Basically what I did throughout my whole adolescence. And hey, I'm here now. And I'll admit, I could probably use a better job than bookkeeping. Getting tired of doing that clerical work during the day, and then what I actually like to do at night. What kind of contract are we talking? Like a job? Like one job? Are we talking like an ongoing thing? Or
You'd be leaving your old life behind, never to return to it again.
it takes a moment to think about that. What's the pay?
Just kind of like look around. Better than what you're making.
Damn.
No doubt about that. All right. Yeah, I could use a change of pace. Why not? If you want Master Blaster, I'm happy to be here. So consider me a part of the crew if you like. I assume there's a crew.
What's your
right?
real name? I don't want to refer to you as Master Blaster for the entire time that we work together.
Thank God. I made that when I was like 13. And I'm going to quickly roll this out now. So.
Can you imagine part of his message just or username getting cut off and it's just asked for
Mm.
Blaster?
M Blaster. Master B. Anyway.
Master
okay,
B.
so-
Blaster.
Yeah, Master B. Blaster. So, his name, he says, Joel.
Joel. I'm Kushitaka. Welcome aboard. And I put a drink in his hand, and then like just clack it against there.
Cheers.
Drink it.
Hell yeah. All right. Yeah, no, he cheers right back and downs it and has a good laugh. And congratulations, you got yourself this would be an electronic warfare officer. So
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Sweet.
our boy here this is actually a side post, which is interesting. Most folks don't have ECM officers, but here you go, ECM officer.
Joel.
Joel. I literally have a whiteboard up here I'm writing this on.
I should probably write it in like our group Discord.
I need to get a stat block done for him, actually. So we'll get to that. All right. So, Kushitaka, you recruited yourself a pretty solid hacker. And actually, he connects you to a couple of other circles of hackers on the... a couple other circle of hackers on the mantle who he can basically get you to hire. So in order to keep him, you're going to need to pay him a pretty significant fee considering what you're asking him to do, but bearing in mind your average person gets paid 1 current a day, which is his current wage.
I will give him
So-
2,000 current.
Damn.
Yeah, that's 2,000. That is more than good enough for given his skill level.
Tell him that he
Oh,
needs to grab whatever he needs before we leave because we are leaving in a week.
We're just fighting.
That's fair.
I mean, is that right? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Yeah, you have
Okay.
like 7 days terrestrial time. So, yeah, no, he's more than willing to get that taken care of. So, yeah, that'd be enough to buy him for 2 years, basically, a 2-year tenure before you'd have to renew the contract. So that's pretty good. All right. As far as the other officers that you're going to be hiring, it'll be 1 current a person. And
I'm back down to 9,948 or whatever the total is.
nice. In order to
Yeah,
manage,
9,980.
so I'm taking a look here at the sheet for the ship specifically. Here we go. I'm doing this on my end, not for you guys. So looking at the amount of personnel the ship requires, 75, 350. So in order to fully crew these electronic warfare suites, you're probably going to be looking at about 25 per. So that's about 50 total. So you're looking at least 50 current a day, which, working that out, that'd be about 1,825 to keep a full staff of your electronic warfare suite per year.
Okay, I will pay them out in advance.
Sick. Yeah, you basically get them all immediately. Like, your wrist would be immediately populated by a bunch of messages like, "Hell yeah! Can't believe I got this job. Gonna be great." Like immediately, just like, "Can't wait to see you, sir." Like all that fun stuff.
Aww.
So yeah, before you know it, you start getting messages that from the ship mistress like, "Hey, I got just like 50 requests for dock access. Are these okay? And yeah, they're moving in like immediately.
Hell
So
yeah.
over the course of the next week, you'll have your crew for them. Who wants to go next?
I guess I'll go unless I don't know how long Becky's therapy session and all that.
The rest of her
friends.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you have a whole nother 7 days to get this shit taken care of.
Okay, cool. I think that for me, for the rest of the day, what I would probably do is probably go over the files of like the captain, the pilot, the engineer, and the diplomat. Basically, just kind of spilling over their files and seeing like, what are their alien race or species, and what are there perhaps I don't know like how detailed it is, but basically what I'm trying to do is trying to get a feel for who they are as people. That way when we approach them to try to recruit them, those specific 4 people, that we kind of have a better chance of figuring out what are their likes, their dislikes, how do we greet them, so that it'll make it a little bit easier for us to recruit them. That's what
Roger that.
I would do.
Okay.
Since I feel like that's going to be a very heavy negotiating job I'm going to have to do. So,
Yeah,
Hey,
you're compiling profiles. It's hard work.
it
Right.
does what it says on the tin, right? All right. So, looking at these stats and what we're dealing with here. No, I'm also just gonna make sure I got everything else I need taken care of. There we go. Okay, cool. So then, for this, JJ, I'm gonna ask for you to, I suppose it'd be negotiating, and we would also, for this, you actually have a tool at your disposal, believe it or not. You have, I believe, if I recall, friend of a friend
I do.
as one. Okay, so friend of a friend is perfect for this kind of thing. Friend of a friend would be one of your negotiator axioms.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, select an NPC as a target. Negotiator rolls a negotiation roll opposed by the target's intellect. Success, the friendliness of the NPC increases by 1 step for the duration of the following encounter. So this would be a better way for you to get a gauge of both who they are as people and what their skill sets are. So let's start with the first one. Which one would you like? Engineer, captain, or pilot? You also have your negotiator as well.
Captain. I'll go captain first.
Okay, cool. So you're going to be making me a negotiation roll, and you'll also get to add your Doctrine of Accord die. So it'll be D6 extra. Plus also your luck die as well.
Luck die?
So so
Okay.
you have an extra D6 you can swap out for one of the other rolls. Everything explodes. So go ham.
Great. Negotiation is a will. So it's
Kerchow.
8 plus 3.
Ciao.
Oh my god, don't know.
Kerchow. I am speed. Kerchoo.
Kerchoo. I was dying. Kerchoo.
I literally watched. I actually watched Zoolander the other week. So now every time I just see
Oh, that
Hansel doing
exploded.
ciao. Damn.
Yo.
So then do I roll my
That's
other d6? For my...
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Yeah, the other one, that would be the next one. So that'd be your D6. So that first one's your luck die. So that'd be an 8 plus 3. So that brings you to 11. Plus another 3 brings you out to 14.
14.
Pretty spicy. Versus the intellect roll I'll make for our friend here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You definitely succeed. She's friendlier than she could be. So, the captain actually is the one listed on the ship's roster on that plaque that you saw earlier, on the backside of the ship's plaque.
Right.
Shiara Mumathan is a rather unassuming looking clique. She has a black carapace with shocks of red along it in patterns, and she is pretty old by cliquish standards. Most cliques don't get past 60. She's currently pushing 45. So she's getting to that age where she's thinking about settling down, having a couple thousand kids, and retiring.
Dang.
Love
But
that for her.
yeah, but that said, after you do a little digging, you find out that actually she has distinguished herself across not just this ship, but several others. The last Voyager crew that owned this ship, they dissolved because of personal differences. It had nothing to do with anything that occurred as a result of a mission or anything. In fact, in her tenure as captain, she's lost 3 ships,
Ooh.
but she's lost barely any crew. From what you can tell also, she seems to be rather stern as a baseline. Very much a steel of the, like a backbone of steel kind of captain. But even though she does seem to take no shit, she gets results and her crew tends to like her. If you can convince her to not quite retire yet, then yeah, you'd have a good captain in her.
Okay.
Just to put it in perspective, captains increase the morale of a ship. Literally, like they basically give you like the equivalent of a luck die to roll with your ship's bravery. So her equivalent would be a D8, which is pretty fucking good considering most are a 4 or a 6.
Okay.
So that's the captain. Who do you want to do next?
I will go ahead and do I'll do the pilot.
Okay. So I'm gonna roll this die over here to determine which one of these it is. That feels very appropriate. Okay. So all right, not nearly as high as the last one, but solid. So we go to our roller over here. You still rolled higher, just by baseline, so that's good. So she'll be a little friendlier as well. Or to say, really, he will in this instance. The pilot is a relative newbie. Remember the way I told you that the captain's lost very few crew? Well, unfortunately, one of the few crew that seem to continuously go down with her ships appears to be the pilot. They have this penchant for wanting to do dumb but incredibly impressive shit. It tends to be a problem with a lot of mercenary crews. They like to show off. And unfortunately, this pilot appears to be in the tradition of really highly skilled and highly competent, probably too competent for their own good. You know, highly competent, but more confident than competent, if that makes sense. However, that would be Creek of the Endless Sea. He's actually from a long line of sailors, as far as you can tell, going all the way back to the homeworld. This Acris is in his early 20s, and is in fact only here because he originally was deployed as part of the Acris Stratocracy fleet. But while he was here, a Voyager grabbed him and requisitioned him onto their ship mid-tenure. He never finished his public service tenure. He would still be in service for another 5 years. So it's either this, or he serves as a soldier in basically the Acris's Air Force. He's quite content to not be a pilot in the Air Force. He's happy to be here. He makes more money, too. So you get the feeling if you could convince him to join you, he'd be decent, but you might have to rein in his more reckless tendencies. He's a hot dogger.
Okay. So, okay, I will do the engineer.
The engineer. So the engineer...
Will you want me to roll?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. So that's compared to our friend here, though. Oh, yeah, you did better. So, this is a very common string as being a negotiator. You roll an extra die, which otherwise would basically push your average rolls above everyone else's average rolls.
Right.
So again, a little bit more friendly. This one's an interesting one. This is an Oraname, actually. Not a very common thing to see among like officers, but apparently this engineer served with the Union fleet for a while. And after his ship got destroyed, he took to drinking and not being particularly interested in serving until after a while, he was requisitioned by a Voyager team. And it appears private service has done well by him. So our buddy here by the name goes by Garol. Garol. Ualt Ili. UALT apostrophe ILI.
Spell that last name again. UL.
Oh, that would be that'd be UALT apostrophe ILI.
Okay.
Okay. So he seems like he's capable, but it's just one of those. Be aware, like he has some demons in his past that he's working through, but he's cheap and he's experienced, so that's better than most.
Okay. Okay. Cheap experience. Okay, so I guess I will do last but not least the diplomat.
The diplomat. I won't make you make this. Well, actually, no. Make the roll, but you'll get the information. This is to determine just solely how how social he is.
I actually
Nice.
rolled pretty good.
You did. You actually rolled really, really good. So, fun fact:
Definitely.
this guy is actually himself a negotiator. He doesn't use the normal counter roll. He makes a counter negotiator roll against you.
Okay. Ooh, spicy.
You're dead even,
Oh.
except
Ooh.
for the mod. So that's 10 versus 10 plus your 5. So let's see what he gets.
Ooh, spicy.
So yeah, as you reach out to him, you know, your contacts are cordial, but you get the feeling he's not going to buy into the usual like, haha, I know a guy, because very swiftly you realize why. This guy's not just a diplomat. You got kind of a coup here if you can get him on your team. This guy's a poet laureate of the Shrike. This guy actually used to be, and when I say used to be, I mean as in like used to be more like in circulation. His name is Haken Skor Athis.
Oh.
Haken was once a famed poet of various Shrike peoples. Even though he's from House Skor, he was so respected that numerous houses have invited him to both speak and write historical chapters and epics for their leaders. He's pushing about 250 years old now, pretty like mid-aged for Shrike. But in his short time, he's done a great deal, including participating in, very briefly, the Human Faction Wars in his very young age. So, your boy's storied. However, he hasn't taken missions for quite some time. He tends to go about the mantle, largely, by himself. And the only reason why he appears to be taking a job again is because he put it out. He put out there his resume, randomly, to be picked up by whatever Voyager might want him. He has not put out a resume in over 100 years. This guy's been retired for a while. So he appears to want to get back into the mix.
Interesting.
You would be familiar enough with your training back in your homeworld. His poetry is so famed even on the Oraname homeworld. It is spoken of. He's not quite Will Shakespeare, but he's basically the Heming. Yeah, he's the Hemingway of his era. Like, to put that in perspective.
Okay. I'm gonna put Hemingway-esque in my notes.
So that's your crew,
Okay.
and that's your research.
All right. This is good.
I can at least save you time on one of them. A couple of minutes after you research them, you get a message from the captain, Shiara, and she says, "Are you taking the Acheron out?" Which is your ship, by the way.
I will say, yes, I am, Captain. I'm trying to figure out what's the most respectful way. She's pretty stern, so I'm trying to be respectful.
Captain would be the best way. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, yes, Captain, I am.
Just flaunt the jelly colors. Be like,
You still need a commander?
Absolutely. I would be honored if you would reclaim the mantle. Or I shouldn't say the mantle because we're in the mantle, but you know
That's
what I
a good
mean.
enough time. The
Reclaim the
meaning would get
handle.
through. The meaning would get through. There would be a slight pause in the messaging, and then immediately afterward, "I'm not done with that, old bird. Sign me up."
Hell yeah.
Excellent.
we begin.
Should I ask her about a fee? Or are we gonna just all negotiate that off?
I figure you guys will negotiate that one later. She
We'll
didn't.
just
Say,
go-
she didn't mention anything about her payment.
She just walked
Okay.
on.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just send a message to our group chat, meaning like between me, Kushitaka, Becky, and Louie. Captain secured, working on the other ones.
Well done.
So this was all one day for you guys.
Productive motherfuckers.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys have 3 more officers to interview starting the next day. And I gotta say, the sunrise on the mantle is weird for you all. There is no actual sunrise. Because of the way that this world is, this is a Dyson ring that one side always faces the sun. So your windows just polarized to night and then unpolarized during the day. So then the real question is, what do you guys do? The next morning, you still have 3 folks to reach out to.
Would any of them be influenced by her very attractive trait? Because then she could just go with Amaya, be like, "I'll just be the set piece."
Becky's just trying to romance one of them. Come on. I'm down for it. I'm so down.
Your ability, your very attractive trait would apply to any member of any species, to a certain degree. Like, as long as probably the most difficult one would be a click.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm
They're-
like, that wouldn't have helped with the previous.
Yeah, the Oraname might not be so easy, but your skills in other capacities might be helpful. They are an engineer after all.
That's right, yeah. You might have better chance with the Oraname if you want to give it a shot.
Sure.
Okay.
We're gonna watch her just be like, schematic.
I will
Yeah.
I will give you something like as a gift to take on your just to smooth things kind of over.
Okay.
A model of shit.
So you're going to meet with the engineer, Becky. What are you two doing?
I don't know.
Do you want to babysit the forge?
Kind of, but not really, because he's not nice.
I was gonna say, who would volunteer for that besides you? I think
I like how I've given you all a MacGuffin of absolute power, and it's so unpleasant that no one wants to be
I don't
around.
want to fuck with him.
No, you
He's
think
not nice to me.
we don't fuck with him like that.
We don't fuck with him like that.
I would like to take a crack. I think I'm gonna take a crack at the diplomat, and fangirl a little bit.
All right.
If Derek wants, he can go after the pilot or do something else.
Oh, I feel like you and the pilot would be like you're good. You're smooth.
I'm not good with people. It's not my fucking character's thing, dude.
That's God. I
He's
see you.
The
really
pilot-
not.
But isn't the pilot an Acris?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I mean, I can. If that's the fucking pretense you want to base our relationship off of, that we both hail from the same
Actually, it
fucking
was
You
Yeah,
have
it's-
wings. I have wings. You have a beak. I
I was
have a
just
beak.
gonna
We have
say,
so much in common.
No, I was gonna say reckless tendencies were what they have in common. As far as Becky's concerned, that would be like the thing they would have in common.
You want to go ramp
Yeah.
off a canyon?
The only difference is that Kushitaka is actually competent, and this new guy is reckless and a
Unknown.
little bit competent, but more confident. He's overconfident. So I feel like Kushitaka will be great at knocking him down a peg a little bit. You know, maybe. I don't know. No, never mind. Never mind. I feel like this will go bad.
I promise you, this will backfire.
But you should challenge him to a race.
Oh, God.
Yeah, just challenge him to a race. Say if you win, then he has to work on our ship.
There you go.
For the record,
No, what I should do is if I should set it up to where if he wins, then he gets a higher starting rate. But what I don't tell him is that that's actually just the normal rate we're gonna pay him. And if he sucks so bad that I beat him, he's actually starting at a lower rate. Oh, okay, I'll do this.
There you
But
go.
I don't tell him that part. I just tell him like, so if I beat you, this is like 25% less. If you beat me, then it's like it's actually gonna what we'd offer him.
all right. So Kushitaka, you're going to meet with the pilot. Vaughn, you're going to meet with the engineer, and JJ, you're going to meet with the
Diplomat.
with the diplomat. Okay then. So I figure I will ask at this point because I think we're getting to that point. Yeah, you know what? Sure, let's go with it. We're gonna start with you, Derek.
Okay.
So, you find this guy hanging out in one of the many massive ports on the underside of the mantle. Literally where the sky meets space, only held apart by a tensor field. And while you're there, you can see that this guy is just vibing. He's sitting there with what appears to be a rather extensively large drink in his hand, like one of those really obnoxiously long, like cocktail flutes. And he's just sitting out and watching the ships go by as you approach him. This guy is very much a traditional, like he's a more classic Acris, in the sense that more like falcon-like bearing. And his feathers, normally this like you can see there's a white to a little bit of brown under them. He's gone through and hired someone to dye the tips of his feathers shock blue. The whole of them. All of them. On every leading surface of his body. And he's currently sitting there in this rather nice looking flight suit. Which for an Acris is a very tight fitting thing around the waist. But it leaves the upper chest and upper body relatively open. You gotta have those flying surfaces exposed. And so I'm gonna safely say with your stealth skills, you can get the drop on him if you want, but he is not looking in your direction when you enter the lounge.
I'll give him the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, you're sneaking up on him?
Yeah.
All right.
That's gonna be 13.
I'm not even gonna roll. 100%. You'd be going on his base perception, which is not that high. He
Oh no.
So how do you sneak up on this guy? It's like walk up behind him.
He just hears in Acris, very quietly, like at a whisper. Heard you're the most mediocre pilot on the mantle.
He would immediately just like sit up and turn around and look at you, and you see the one thing that's blue on his body that hasn't been dyed is his eyes. And they just narrow in on you. You scum-sucking son of a bitch! What did you just say to me? And he slowly stands up and rises to like the same height as you.
Word on the
And he
wind
just-
is you couldn't fly straight in a thunderstorm.
Fuck you. That's such bullshit. And he just takes his little flute, just throws it on the ground. And you can hear shh as it breaks down on. And you can see nearby like a little robot scoots over and begins to suck up the glass and the drink.
The real heroes, the cleaner robots.
Always.
Mhm.
I'll have you know, I'm Creek of the Endless Sea. The only reason I'm not currently serving on an Acris ship right now is because some idiot grabbed me for his own fire team and then dissolved the team later because they couldn't agree on their future endeavors. I'd
I
be
heard it was
serving on
because
a
you couldn't-
Voyager ship.
I heard it wasn't because they couldn't agree. I heard it was because you kept threatening their lives anytime the slightest problem went wrong.
Oh god, he's taking a swing at you. Natural one! The dice tell a story. You can see like he's so pissed he just lashes out at you, and as he does, like you can see his claws come out. Like Acris have talons, and as he reaches out, like they slightly extend from his fingers, but his swing goes very wide as you dodge out of the way or step out of the way. And he sort of stumbles a little bit around and turns around. Who the hell are you?
Just an Acres in need of the most mid pilot in the entire mantle. Someone that people won't miss when they go missing.
Jesus.
I'm trying to antagonize him as best I can.
All right, smartass. You want to hire me? Fine. But you're not going to talk shit about me. That's not how this is going to work. You want me to pilot your ship? I'll prove to you I'm not a piece of crap. What do you want? Fighter craft? Or you want to just fly the old-fashioned way? And he fluffs his wings at you.
Yoshitaka stretches his wings out like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to happen. And yeah, we race off. I'm fully assuming he's gonna beat my fucking ass, but that's what I came here for. Again,
Alright.
setting the rates at if somehow I fucking beat him, we're paying him like I'll say like 10% less. I don't want to say 25%. That's a lot. We'll say like 10% less. If he beats me, which is what I expect to pay, then we'll give him like the standard rate that he would expect for somewhat of his capabilities. And we'll also stop talking shit to him. I tell him that as much. I'll probably stop talking shit to him anyway.
All right. So this is where it's going
Did
to
you
get
say
fun.
you're bad with people? You got it wrapped around your finger.
Yeah, that doesn't mean I'm good with people. It means I'm an
Yoshitaka's
asshole.
like, I will never see your face
I'm
ever
asshole.
again.
So
He'll think about it for the rest of his life, but Kushitaka will be like, who are you?
Yeah.
I don't
God,
even know who
yeah.
you are.
all right, Derek.
All right, what am I rolling?
So this is where things are going to get fun for you. So you're going to be making me dodge rolls.
Okay.
Because you're not just flying for speed. What you're flying through is one of the more industrialized areas of the mantle. You're basically
Oh, nice.
going for the full-on weaving through shit course. So you're going to
Cool.
roll that while he rolls his.
I don't know where my dodge is.
Your dodge doesn't exist. You don't have it, which means you're rolling base coordination.
Oh no. Okay.
I will let you add EVA for your extra vehicular activity
Yeah.
proficiency to this.
Okay.
Feels
cool.
appropriate.
Nine.
Given this 10 at
Ooh.
first. So very quickly, as you're weaving along through this path, he's keeping up and flying surprisingly smart. This guy might be a brash piece of crap when it comes to talking with him, but when it comes to actually flying, he's cautious. Like, you can see that it's not that he wouldn't be willing to do reckless, stupid shit in the cockpit. So right now, this matters to him, and he's not leaving it to chance. And so as you're flying, you can see that he hovers right behind you in your backdraft for a lot of the flight until you get towards the very end. And he tucks his wings and darts past you, just enough to get past the finish line first.
Nice.
Yeah, when we land, I like just stride up to him, like as if we weren't just exerting like a massive amount of physical strain.
Yeah.
It's like,
All right, so here's 1,000 credits. Here's the hangar where our ship's going to be located at, and see you around, Ace. And I walk off.
He looks at his wrist link as the credits transfer. His eyes widen, then he sees the message and he just pops on. He just looks at you, then as you walk away and you're not looking at him, you hear in the distance, "Yeah, I'm on a ship again!" And it's like this full, like you can even hear like the little fist pumping cracks that he's making as he's doing it.
I love this little fool.
Bon, you're next.
No.
The engineer.
Oh.
The engineer is found in the lounge, and he is currently nursing a very large bottle of what appears to be some kind of Oroname and brandy, which for them is basically little microbes that make alcohol in the seawater that they're drinking.
What?
So yeah, he's basically drinking like naturally occurring alcohol. And so you can see him there with this giant container, and for him, it's sad enough to see someone at the bottom of a barrel or bottom of like a bottle. This guy, because he's Oroname, has to push the bottle into his mouth. So it's like he's really just sitting there with his mouth like this, and he has this giant tube sticking out of it as he's draining it slowly, bit by bit, through his body. And as you approach, he reaches in and pulls it out and puts it on the table.
Does it hurt to do that?
No. What can I do for you?
We have a job opening and we would like you to join us.
Mm-hmm. And what made you come to me? No better options? And he takes another like big swig of the thing and puts it down.
Do you have any recommendations?
I'm gonna make a roll in for him.
And be like, well, if you think somebody else is better,
that was a willpower roll on his part. He pauses and sighs and pushes the bottle away. What kind of ship you crewing?
Can I use my wrist link to give him the schematics?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just give it an open link then.
He leans over and looks at it. God, that's an old rust bucket. They'll make them like they used to, though. Well, good news. Any idiot you get to control that thing or to serve as your engineer on that thing can't do more damage to it than time. But most of the engineers here, they're used to the newer shit. They wouldn't know what to do with something like that.
So you are the best candidate.
He leans back. Let's say I decided to do it. Let's say I have enough self-respect to actually try. If I do that, what's my compensation looking like?
Should I give, can I also bring up, like, the average pay? And then, like, as a negotiation, like, this is what usually you get.
So the good news is it's pretty easy in Legacy. Basically, if it's a valuable job, you get paid 2 to 4 times more than the average daily wage, which is 1 current.
Yeah, so 4 to 6.
Okay. Yeah, if you do 6, then that would make him raise like all 4 of his. He doesn't have eyebrows per se. He's a jellyfish. He looks.
I would love it if he did that though.
He
like,
does,
in real
however,
life,
have
I
little
would
eye
love
spots, and you can see like the gelatin above them kind of does raise a little bit. Gotta admit, I buy a fair bit of hooch.
And it'll keep you from being bored.
That too. All right. All right. Sure. And you can see he stretches and he stands up, and as he does, you can see that underneath him, he has dozens of stinger tendrils under his arms.
Oh.
He's one of the more aggressive Medusae Oroname.
Can
Their
you
species.
control it?
Yes, they can control whether they venom strike people. But basically, they have as a baseline ability, if they were to attack someone with an unarmed attack, they can choose to do corrosion damage as a baseline, which is pretty effective. So he reaches his hand over, by the hand I mean pseudopod, and it sort of engulfs yours and shakes it.
Yes.
You got an engineer. What time we leaving?
In 6 days.
Good, I can get sober before then. Now leave me to drink. Then he goes and plops back down into the chair. So finally, we turn over to
Oh
you.
wait, can I leave him the model ship that
Yeah,
I might have assembled? Yeah, I'll just leave him the model ship and then gently leave.
that's fair. As you're walking away, you'd see one of his like pseudopods reach over and just like slowly pull it closer. And they can't smile in the same way other people can, but the eyes show the symbols of happiness.
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of like a smirk behind them. Finally, we go to you, Amaya.
Yes.
And as you find him actually in a series of gardens, not in the spire, but in a nearby district. It's about a half a day's trip to get there. It's actually rather beautiful. And in this place, filled mostly with other species gallivanting about, you see a lone, tall, proud Acrus standing next to a lone, tall, proud Shrike. As the Acrus walks away, carrying a handful of papers, the Shrike turns to you, and you feel the soft tingle of echolocation hitting your body as his attention turns to you. And even from this distance, you hear him speak as he directs his voice at you through the crowd. I was wondering when you were going to show up. And that is where we're going to end the session today.
Oh shit. Okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Woo,
All right.
cliffhanger!
I caught wind of it and I was like, we've been going for a good while. This feels like a good stopping point.
I love it.
So thank you guys so much. That was a fun session.
That was a great session, dude.
I appreciate all your patience, both with the new equipment, the new ship rules, and all that. I am doing my best to try to get this going as fast as I can. And
We got to
Great,
pick
dude.
out the fun stuff.
thank you. I
Mhm.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Bit by bit.
Loved
we're
that.
getting there. Thank you, Chief.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. Omni, thank you for running as always. Much love. Had a great time. Legacy
Always.
fucking rules.
Thank
And you rule for making it. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. Thank you, chat. Thank you all for all the support. Thank you all for the raids. Let's get our shout outs. And yeah. JJ, where can people find you?
Hello, everyone. So you can find me over on Twitter at JJ_Cray. Or you can find me here on Twitch at BamReaper97. Variety streamer, friendly TTRPG chef. The Tasty Tavern is on hiatus. It will come back in the middle of July. Very excited
Nice.
for that. Got some things planned for that. What else? You can find me here every other Saturday playing this wonderful campaign with my babies.
Oh yeah.
And you can also find me, let's see, now you can find me Mondays over at Girls Run These Worlds for our Lord of the Rings campaign.
Oh, Lord, them rings.
Yes, we love
Oh,
them
yeah.
rings. So that's gonna be really fun. And then on Tuesdays you can find me over at Tales from the Table Studios playing Crime Solvers, which is a Monsters of the Week campaign, and
Nice.
that is a lot of fun. So yeah, that's me. Thank you all for being here. Love you.
Thank you.
You, buddy.
Love you, JJ. Thank you for being here. Vaughn, what's good, dude?
I am Bon Bon Butcher, and I play here on Derek's channel every other Saturday in Legacy, and
Hell
every
yeah.
other Thursday on Omni's channel. I'm trying to find the. Oh, you're pointing this way. It's a corner.
Mhm.
In Ateria.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
I am.
sorry, I
am
thought you were
not
gonna keep
prolific.
No, you're good.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Much love as always, dude. You rock.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
sharing your mans with me. Not like that. Chat. Get your mind out better.
Oh,
Omni.
man. And I feel like we should probably shout out Paul Ampersand, who's also an amazing
Yeah,
dude and
absolutely.
member of the Fire team. So to everyone out there, I highly recommend going to find our buddy Paul down at that link right over there. Paul's an awesome dude. He runs plenty of fun games. He's a really, really, really cool guy. And I'm just glad to have him on board the campaign. Currently out on vacation at the moment with his family. So we wish him well. and his spirit looms large over the game. Truly, I
Yeah.
love playing with Louis and all the rest of the cast. They're great.
Oh yeah.
And I guess it's me then, right?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Last Omnitect, your favorite robot American. Thank you guys for tuning in to another session of Legacy First Flight, our Fast and Light Tale in the World of Tomorrow. We run this every other every other Saturday. Man, it's been a day. Every other Saturday on this channel, where we'll also occasionally have a couple other players pop in from here and there. But right now, it's the Core 4, and I'm happy about it.
Core 4.
We also the Core 4. We also run Mouse Guard this coming week, this coming Thursday, on Derek's channel
Hell yeah.
at it should be the same time, right? 6:30 p.m.
Yep.
CST.
Absolutely.
And if you want to tune in for a lovely adventure of low fantasy mice on a grand adventure of conquest and exploration, I can't recommend Mouse Guard: The Frontier enough. And then finally, every other Thursday on my channel, the one you can see right down there, you guys will spot me doing my Wild Skies of Eternia Pathfinder 2E Lighter Than Air campaign. I've been loving running it. I have a number of my players here, and it's been
Hell
a
yeah.
blast, truly.
It's a great time.
Thank you, buddy. Other than that, you can catch me on my Twitch channel. I do art streams, world building, and rule smithing, and just casual hangouts. So come and spend some time with us and chill out. Other than that, Derek, I love you, buddy. I hand the stream back to you.
Thank you, buddy. Much love, much appreciated as always. Chat, thank you. Thank you again for your support. Thank you for the lurks. Thank you for participating and being here. No stream tonight. We are getting ready for session 0 for we're gonna have a couple session zeros for a new campaign that will be starting in July. It's gonna be a mini campaign, so keep your eyes out for that. None of our homies are online, so we're not raiding out or anything, but I love y'all. I'll see you very soon. I'll probably stream on Monday or Tuesday. Or not Tuesday, because I have something else. I have Lamina. Probably on Monday. I'll probably stream on Monday, but we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. I might not, because I'll be going to see my parents on Sunday, so I might just need some time to decompress. But I don't know. We'll see. I love you. I see you soon. Bye bye.
Peace.